Neon lights pierced the night like sharp swords. The top Tinyu Group headquarters building in City A looked like a giant beast entrenched in the clouds, overlooking the entire urban jungle. In the board meeting room on the 70th floor, the crystal chandelier shed cold golden light, reflecting the livid faces. The air was filled with the smell of a mixture of cigars and expensive cologne, but it couldn't hide the oppressive smell of gunpowder. Mr. Fu, you are living a prosperous life as a bachelor, but now the stock price is about to collapse because of your tidy news. The chairman, Old Manly, stood up with a slap on the table, veins on his forehead popped out, and his voice trembled like a dead leaf in the wind. His fingers were poking at the tablet in front of him, and hot searches were scrolling on the screen. Tinyu dominates nightclub carnival, and the female companions change like a revolving door. The merger and acquisition of the century is about to happen, and those old foxes from Huashing Fund are keeping a close eye on it. They want to stabilize their image. If you don't give me an explanation, we will all be buried with you when the market opens tomorrow. The directors around him whispered, some sneered, some shook their heads, their eyes full of ridicule and despair. A young vice president murmured in a low voice, no matter how awesome Fu Ting is, he can't stand up to these gossips. If Tinyu falls, us old bones will really drink from the northwest wind. The air in the conference room seemed to solidify, and everyone felt as if a huge stone was weighing on their hearts. The business aircraft carrier of Tinyu Group was about to capsize in the wind and waves. Fu Ting sat at the head of the table, his slender body wrapped in a black suit, and his tie as straight as a blade. His eyes as deep as the abyss slowly scanned the entire scene, his thin lips pursed slightly, without any trace of panic. Ridicule. Desperate. Over the years, he, Fu Ting, climbed to the top on countless corpses and saw a lot. Stabilize your image. His voice was low and magnetic, but with an unmistakable chill. Within 3 months, I will give you a marriage certificate. The whole place was dead silent. Old Man Lee's eyes widened, his mouth formed an O shape, and after a long while he squeezed out one sentence, Fu, Mr. Fu, are you serious? The directors nearby looked at each other, some rubbed their eyes, and some whispered, impossible. Fu Ting is getting married? Isn't this a fantasy? Their shock came like a tide, but Fu Ting had already stood up, turned around and left, with his back as towering as a mountain, leaving only a room full of astonishment. At the same time, in a dilapidated office building on the outskirts of City A, the lights were as dim as a candle. Su Wan's family business, Wanching Technology, has become an empty shell, and creditors are surrounding the door like hungry wolves. Outside the door, a dozen burly men waved their sticks, causing the glass to shatter and scatter. Su Wan. Your father owes us 500 million, come out and pay back the money. The leading bald man roared, the flesh on his face trembling, and his eyes flashing fiercely. In the office, Su Wan was curled up alone at the table, holding documents tightly in her hands, her knuckles turning white. She was originally a rising star in the business world, and Wanching Technology was once very prosperous, but her father made an investment mistake and owed a huge debt. The creditor, that bastard Chen Feng, even made matters worse by collaborating with loan sharks to force the death of her family. The cell phone kept ringing with vicious threats to collect debts. Wan, can't you hold on anymore? My best friend Xia Wanqing's voice trembled, that bastard Chen Feng said he would drag you to make a debt repayment video tonight, so run away. Su Wan gritted her teeth, tears welling up in her eyes. She wiped her eyes and stood up, her pale but stubborn face reflected in the mirror. Run. Where are you running? Wanqing is my father's hard work, I can't throw it away. The sound of banging on the door was like thunder. Her heart felt like it was falling into an ice cave, and she had no way out. At this moment, the engine roared outside the building, and a global limited edition Rolls-Royce Phantom stopped like a panther. The car door opened and Fu Ting stepped out. His leather shoes made a crisp sound when he stepped on the broken glass. The creditors around him were stunned. The bald man rubbed his eyes and growled, "Who is this?" Are you here to join in the fun? Fu Ting ignored them and went straight to the door. His assistant reminded him in a low voice, "Mr. Fu, this place is too messy." Pushing the door open, Fu Ting locked eyes with Su Wan. Under the dim light, she looked like a dying rose, but with an unyielding flame. He stepped forward slowly, and every step he took was like stepping on everyone's heart. The creditors followed, and the bald man rushed forward. "Boy, you have nothing to do here, get out." Before he finished speaking, Fu Ting stepped aside and grabbed the opponent's wrist with one hand. There was a click, and the strong man screamed and knelt down, his face as white as paper. Fu Ting. Mr. Fu from Tingyu." His voice trembled and he hit his knees on the ground. The boys next to him stared with wide eyes and their legs were too weak to stand. "Oh my God, it's him. We've got the devil." Su Wan raised her head and her pupils suddenly shrank. Why did this business tycoon come to her dilapidated place? Fu Ting waved his hand, and the assistant threw out a stack of checks, which fell like snowflakes. 500 million, the debt is written off in one stroke. The hands of the creditors picking up the money were shaking like chaff. The bald man got up and ran away without looking back. He shouted as he ran, "Oh my God, Mr. Fu is showing off his power. Let's go, don't mess with him." There were only 2 people left in the room. Fu Ting threw the document on the table and said in a cold voice, "Su Wan, we have been in a fake marriage for 3 months. Tingyu paid for Wanqing's rescue, and you give me a piece of paper to prove it and stabilize my image. If it's done, I'll add another 100 million. Su Wan's heart was shaken, and she stared at the contract, her father's photos and countless sleepless nights flashing through her mind. Fake marriage? Fu Ting, do you think I, Su Wan, am selling myself to pay off debts? She stood up suddenly, her chest heaving, and her eyes burning with anger. Fu Ting's lips curled up slightly, and he took a step closer. The tall figure enveloped her, and the faint smell of cologne invaded his nostrils. Sell yourself? No, this is a deal. You are desperate, I will give you a way out. He tapped the contract with his finger, sign it, and Wanqing will be reborn. If you don't sign, the creditors will come back tonight. Su Wan was shaking with anger, and Xia Wanqing's call came again, Wan. Chen Feng said he wanted to destroy you, I was scared to death. She bit her lip, tears fell, and finally signed tremblingly. Okay, 3 months, fake. In front of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the afternoon sun is dazzling. Su Wan put on a simple white dress, feeling confused. Fu Ting, dressed in a crisp suit, took her hand, his palm as hot as a soldering iron. From now on you are mine. His voice was low. The staff of the Civil Affairs Bureau widened their eyes and exclaimed in a low voice, "Oh my God, it's Fu Ting. He's married. Who is this girl? So lucky." Passers-by looked on, flashlights flashed wildly, and someone screamed, "The boss is holding hands." It's so romantic. Su Wan was wary and wanted to pull her hand away, but he held her hand tighter. He was too domineering and could not resist. The moment you receive your certificate, you get your red book. Fu Ting scanned the QR code to pay, and the assistant handed over the diamond ring, worth tens of millions. He knelt down on one knee and put it on for her with his own hands, his movements gentle but unacceptable. The surrounding staff members had their mouths wide open, and Xia Wanqing rushed over, dumbfounded, Wan. You married Fu Ting? Oh my God, what kind of fairy tale is this? Her voice trembled, and her eyes were full of admiration and shock. As night falls, Tingyu's mansion stands on the seaside like a palace, with private helicopters circling and bright lights. Su Wan was carried in by Princess Fu Ting. The crystal lamp in the hall reflected colorful light, and the 2 figures were reflected on the marble floor. The housekeeper and the servants lined up and bowed, wide-eyed and whispered, "Young lady is so beautiful. Mr. Fu finally got a wife, we are saved." Fu Ting placed her on the leather sofa, leaned close to her, and breathed together. Su Wan, you are mine from now on. The kitchen, gym, and this entire mansion are our battlefield. His eyes were burning with fire, and his fingers touched her lips. Su Wan's heartbeat was beating like a drum, and she pushed his chest. Fu Ting, make it clear in the contract, it's fake. Don't cross the line. But his breath was like a net, trapping her. Outside the door, Chen Feng's call came, and the assistant answered, Mr. Fu, Chen Feng said that he will not give in on the merger and acquisition case. Fu Ting sneered, murderous intent flashing in his eyes. At this moment, Fu Ting lowered his head and put his lips close to her ear, fake. Tonight, we will verify the authenticity of this red book. Su Wan's eyes widened, and she was shocked to realize that this man was far more than expected. A storm was about to sweep over. The corners of Fu Ting's lips curved into a playful arc, and his slender fingers gently pinched her chin, forcing her to look directly at him. Those eyes were like the sea before a storm, dark and turbulent. Do not interfere with each other. Su Wan, you are wearing my ring, sleeping on my bed, and now you are negotiating terms with me. His voice was low and magnetic, and every word was like a feather twitching her nerves. The housekeeper Lao Chen and several maids peeked behind the archway not far away, their eyes widened. Lao Chen murmured in a low voice, Master is, really tempted. In the past, he didn't even look at those women, but tonight he brought young mistress in and was so, close. The maid Xiaoli covered her mouth and exclaimed in a very low voice, Oh my God, young mistress is blushing like this. Master's methods are too overbearing. Should we avoid them? Su Wan's heart was beating like a drum. Fu Ting's deep eyes were so close, and his hot breath brushed the side of her neck, trapping her tightly on the sofa like an invisible chain. The crystal lights in the hall of the mansion poured down like stars, reflecting his broad chest under his straight suit, and every inch of his outline exuded an irresistible sense of oppression. She leaned back subconsciously, put her hands against his chest, and touched the hard-as-iron muscles with her palms, but her voice trembled involuntarily, Fu Ting, you, don't mess around. It is clearly written in the contract that we will not interfere in each other's private lives for 3 months. Fu Ting didn't chase him, but just leaned on the sofa with his legs crossed and his eyes like a hunter watching his prey. Master bedroom, now. His tone was calm, but it carried an unquestionable command. Assistant Xiaoli quickly walked in from the side hall, holding a tablet in his hand. His face was pale, and he reported in a low voice, Mr. Fu, the guest room is locked, and the master bedroom is ready, your instructions. Xiao Li's voice trembled slightly, and his eyes peeked at Su Wan, full of sympathy. Love and shock, young lady is so stubborn, but Mr. Fu didn't get angry. In the past, when secretaries made mistakes, he would tell people to get out of here. When Su Wan heard this, her steps froze, and she turned back to glare at him, you guys are colluding? Fu Ting, this is kidnapping. The night is getting deeper, and the sea breeze blows in through the floor-to-ceiling windows, rolling up the gauze curtains. Su Wan finally opened the door to the master bedroom, where she found heavenly luxury, a king-size bed covered with Egyptian cotton sheets, and the bedside table was filled with her change of clothes, all of which were top brands, and even the sizes of her underwear were accurate. She gritted her teeth and put on a silk nightgown, got into bed, and cursed in her heart, it's just a fake marriage, why does he, Fu Ting, control everything? But when Fu Ting went to bed after taking a shower, she was as stiff as a stone. He was only wearing black pajamas, his upper body was naked, and his abdominal muscles were as clear as a knife under the wall lamp. When he was lying on his side, he stretched out his arms and took her directly into his arms. Adapt to the role of wife, Su Wan. Starting tomorrow. His chest pressed against her back, burning like fire. She had a sleepless night, and her mind repeatedly flashed back to the embarrassment of the creditors kneeling, Wancheng's hope of rebirth, and the domineering aura of this man. The sky is bright, and the private gym of the seaside mansion is bathed in the morning light. The floor-to-ceiling mirror wall reflects the waves of the infinity pool. The equipment area is filled with top-notch equipment, dumbbell racks are like works of art, and treadmills are connected to heart rate monitors. Soo-won sneaked in early, wanting to use exercise to vent her sullenness from last night. Wearing tight sportswear, she tried to do pull-ups on the horizontal bar, but due to lack of strength, her arms slid down tremblingly, and her knees hit the ground, gasping in pain. "Damn it, why can't you even do this? Dad, I can't let Wanxing be ruined like this." She murmured to herself, sweat dripping from her forehead, and a sense of despair came over her like a tide. Fitness coach Xiao Wang saw it from a distance, shook his head and whispered, "My posture is so wrong, young lady. Newcomers always do this. They give up after only 3 days. But how can Mr. Fu's woman be so weak?" Suddenly, a pair of big hands held her waist from behind, powerfully pulling her onto the horizontal bar again. Soo-won exclaimed and turned around. Fu Ting was shirtless, wearing only sports shorts. Sweat slid down his 8-pack abs, shining like diamonds. His chest muscles are bulging, his shoulders are wide and his waist is narrow, and every muscle is like steel that has been tempered for thousands of times. "Straighten your waist and tighten your core," he ordered in a low voice, leaning forward and placing his big palm on her lower abdomen, gently pressing to correct her posture. Heat spread through the thin fabric, and his breath blew behind her ears, mixed with the musky scent of male hormones. "This way, up." Soo-won's cheeks were burning, her heartbeat was out of control, her legs clamped on the lever, and she barely pulled it up once. The surrounding mirrors reflected an ambiguous picture, his tall body completely enveloped her, as if he was declaring ownership. Soo-won's blood surged, and she shook off his hand and stood up. The diamond ring flashed dazzlingly in the light. "I'll sleep in the guest room. This mansion is so big, can't it fit in just me?" She turned around and left, her high heels making a crisp sound on the marble floor, but her heart was in a mess. This man is too dangerous, like a beast disguised as a gentleman, he may tear apart the veil of the contract at any time. Xiao Wang's eyes widened behind the equipment, and the towel in his hand fell to the ground. His voice trembled, Mr. Fu taught him personally. Oh my God, he never touched the women who used these equipment. He didn't even look at the models in the gym. This young lady's posture has been corrected to perfection. Another cleaning lady peeked, excited. She whispered, "Young master is too foul, and young mistress is so lucky. We old servants have never seen him so hands-on." Soo-won was so embarrassed that she finally slid off the bar, pushed him away and ran, "I will do it myself. You don't need to worry about it." She rushed out of the gym, her ears red, and her heart was confused. Did this man do it on purpose? Test. Or is it part of the contract? Back in the bedroom, the phone rang, it was Xia Wanqing. "Wan. Are you okay last night? That big devil Fu Ting carried you into the mansion. I listened to the gossip from the servants outside the Civil Affairs Bureau. He has never been close to women. Rumor has it that those women in the nightclub are smokescreens. He didn't even kiss them, just to ward off the board of directors. You may have found a treasure in this fake marriage." Soo-won rubbed her temples and forced a smile. "Wanqing, don't make random guesses. I will prove to you that I, Soo-won, am not a flower vase." After hanging up the phone, she decided to cook dinner by herself. As the sun sets, the kitchen of the mansion looks like a Michelin restaurant, Italian marble countertops shine, the Sub-Zero refrigerator is filled with top-quality ingredients, and the gas stove flame dances faintly blue. Soo-won put on her apron, rolled up her sleeves and cut steak, the blade flying on the chopping board, trying to regain her sense of independence. But her knife skills were poor, a piece of meat slipped off, and sauce splashed all over her sleeve. She cursed in a low voice, "I'm so stupid, I've forgotten all the skills Dad taught me." Fu Ting came closer, hugged her waist from behind, covered her hand with his big palm, held the kitchen knife, and guided her slowly. Press the tip of the knife down and cut across. Like this. His chest pressed against her back, the heat penetrated the thin shirt, and the fingers were intertwined with precise force. Every time the knife fell, the steak was cut as thin as cicada wings. Soo-won's breathing was rapid, and the sauce accidentally splashed on her lips. She licked it subconsciously. He suddenly lowered his head and wiped the corner of her lips with his thumb, as intimately as a lover. Dirty. At that moment, time stood still, his eyes were on fire, her heart skipped a beat, the air was filled with ambiguous sweetness, and the kitchen lights cast a golden glow, like a slow-motion movie. The door opened and Fu Ting walked in. The sleeves of a casual shirt were rolled up, revealing a luxury watch on the cuffs. He originally came to get the documents, but he stopped and stood by with interest in his eyes. Chopping vegetables is like butchering. His voice was smiling, but it made her heart sink. The chef Uncle Lao Lu around him widened his eyes and whispered to the little cook, "Mr. Fu has come into the kitchen. This is the first time." In the past, he only ate Michelin food delivery and never touched oil fumes. Why didn't he scold the young lady for her messy knife skills? The little cook nodded like garlic, her eyes sparkling. "Look at Mr. Fu's eyes, he is so gentle. It is so different from the cold face of outsiders." Old Lu's mouth opened wide and he almost dropped the spoon into the pot. His voice trembled, "Mr. Fu, wipe your mouth. This is the mode of doting on your wife. We old bones have witnessed history. Mr. Tingyu is so good at flirting." The little cook screamed and lowered her voice, "This is a heart-stopping moment. The young lady is blushing. Is this fake marriage going to become real?" The sweetness was like melting honey, but Soo-won suddenly woke up and pushed him away. "Fu Ting, that's enough. Don't let people misunderstand you." She turned around and wiped her mouth, feeling overwhelmed. This feeling was too real, but he was Fu Ting, a business tycoon, how could he be tempted by her? Fu Ting retracted his hand, his eyes suddenly turned cold, and his thin lips pursed into a straight line. "Don't think too much, this is a contract. I will teach you cooking skills and let you adapt to the role, so as not to embarrass me outside." His words were like shards of glass piercing his heart, and he was as cold as ever. He turned and left, leaving her stunned in place with a tight pain in her chest. Chen Feng's words were like a poisonous snake spitting out a message, "Mr. Fu, congratulations on your wedding. Unfortunately, Huasheng Fund has heard about your fake marriage trick. I have black information about Wansheng's old debts and yours. I will withdraw from the merger and acquisition within 3 days, otherwise the whole network will be exposed. Your wife will become headlines and cannon fodder." Fu Ting clenched the tablet with his fingers, filled with murderous intent. The surrounding servants saw it from a distance, their faces turned pale, and old Chen whispered, "Chen Feng is acting like a monster again. The young master frowns like this, something big is going to happen to our Tingyu." Soo-won's heart was frightened, and she pretended to drink soup, but her eyes were fixed on the email. She found a clue, this threat was not only aimed at Fu Ting, but also directly at her. Soo-won's spoon was hanging in the air, and the heat was rising. Under the candlelight, the title of the email was like a cold dagger, piercing her heart. Chen Feng, the creditor who once flaunted his power in front of her company, now dares to threaten Fu Ting. She pretended to lower her head to drink the soup, and locked her eyes on Fu Ting's tablet with her peripheral vision. The snake-like text flashed across the screen, "Withdraw the merger and acquisition within 3 days, otherwise the black material will be exposed and your wife will become cannon fodder." Her hands trembled slightly, and her mind exploded. Wansheng's old account. Fu Ting's dirty information. This man married her for a merger and acquisition project. Could it be that he also had an ulterior secret? Her toes curled up under the dining table. She suppressed her panic and pretended to be calm. "Fu Ting, your email, is it about work?" Fu Ting's eyes swept over him like a cold blade, and the tablet closed with a snap. His long fingers tapped on the table, with a rhythm like a war drum, and the air stagnated with each stroke. The butler Lao Chen came in from the side door carrying desserts. When he caught a glimpse of this scene, the tray almost tilted and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He whispered to the follower Xiao Li, "The aura of the young master is too murderous. That boy Chen Feng has caused trouble again, and Tingyu's merger and acquisition case is about to happen. If you want to be obscene, the young lady's face is pale. Should we persuade her?" Xiao Li shook his head like a rattle and his eyes widened. "Persuade? When Mr. Fu glares, my legs will go weak." In the past, when he was angry, he directly bankrupted his opponent, but this time it involves the young lady. It's over. Dinner was served, candlelight flickered, and Fu Ting ate in silence. Su Wan lowered her head to eat, and Xia Wanqing's words flashed through her mind, "He has never been a womanizer. But why make an exception for her?" Suddenly, Fu Ting's tablet vibrated and an email popped up. He frowned and clicked on the screen, his face as gloomy as before a storm. Su Wan took a sneak peek and caught a glimpse of the sender, Chen Feng. The title of the email was eye-catching, M&A case. "Fu Ting, your stable wife can't save Tingyu." Fu Ting put down his knife and fork, stood up and walked around behind her. He pressed her shoulders with his big palm, his force was gentle but not allowed to break away. He lowered his head and leaned close to his ear, "Wife, eat in peace. Fu Ting, don't pay attention to Chen Feng's tricks." "Wife," the two words passed through like electricity, and her cheeks instantly burned. She pushed his hand away and stood up, "Don't shout so affectionately. It's not in the contract." She rushed out of the door, her high heels hitting the marble floor, echoing in the empty restaurant, like the rhythm of heartbreak. Old Chen and Xiao Li looked at each other, and Old Chen gasped, "The young master called me wife. The sky is falling." In the past, the secretary would cry when he yelled, but this time he was so soft to the young mistress, "Chen Feng is dead." The night was deep, and Su Wan couldn't sleep. The king-size bed in the master bedroom was like a cage. When Fu Ting was lying on his side, his arms were habitually wrapped around him. She stiffly pushed him away. Her mind repeatedly flashed back to the embarrassment of the creditor kneeling down and crying for help, Wanqing's despair on the verge of bankruptcy, and Chen Feng's sinister smile. In the early morning, with the sea breeze howling, Fu Ting quietly stood up, put on sportswear and went for a morning run. His broad back looked like a mountain in the moonlight. When Su Wan heard the door, she threw on her clothes and chased him out of the balcony. Seeing his figure blending into the runway on the seaside, she felt mixed emotions in her heart. This man, as cold as a devil, paid off 500 million in debt for her. The sky breaks, the morning light shines brightly in the private gym, the treadmill buzzes, and the dumbbells clink like thunder. Fu Ting came back dripping with sweat, his upper body naked, his 8-pack abs shining with water drops, his shoulders as wide as a Greek god and his waist as narrow as a Greek god. He saw Su Wan struggling in front of the horizontal bar again, her arms shaking and slipping, and her knees swollen. She gritted her teeth and whispered, "No. I can't always rely on him. Wanqing has to be saved by myself." Desperation hit her heart like a heavy hammer. She knelt down and gasped, tears rolling down her face. Fitness coach Xiao Wang shook his head from a distance, "The young lady is here again, but this posture. I can't hold it. Why is Mr. Fu's woman so stubborn?" Suddenly, iron arms hugged her waist from behind, lifting her up and pressing her onto the equipment pad. Fu Ting leaned down, her tall body completely enveloped her, sweat dripping down her collarbone, burning hot. "Close your legs together, lift your buttocks up," he ordered in a low voice, pressing the inner side of her thighs with his big hands and forcefully correcting her. His breath sprayed on the side of her neck, and the musky scent mixed with sweat hit her face. Su Wan's heartbeat was like a deer. The skin under the sweatpants touched each other, and the heat wave surged. She blushed and refused, "Fu Ting, let go. This is fitness, not." Before he finished speaking, he suddenly lowered his head, touched her forehead with his lips, gave her a hot and humid kiss, and said in a hoarse voice, "Be good, my wife, hold on." The sweet pet exploded like honey, her head buzzed, her face turned red to the roots of her ears, and her whole body was soft. "It doesn't matter," Fu Ting said sternly. His voice was like ice hitting the ground, but he pushed the tablet aside, picked up the steak and put it into his mouth, his jawline tightening like a steel cable while chewing. Su Wan's heart sank. This man was used to controlling everything, but he actually ignored threatening emails. She bit her lip and tried to pry, "Chen Feng, he owes my company money, and now he wants to destroy the merger. Fu Ting, you won't really withdraw, will you? Wancheng's 500 million check is your life-saving money." Her voice was trembling, despair surged up like a tide. If the merger collapsed and Tingyu's stock price fell, wouldn't her work as a fake wife be in vain? In the afternoon, the sun shines down on the kitchen of the mansion, the marble countertop reflects the golden light, and the ingredients are piled high. Su Wan tried to make a salad independently, but her knife slipped and her hands trembled. She recalled her troubled past. The creditor broke down the door and her father's hospital bed was in despair. Her eyes were wet and she whispered, "Dad, I can't hold it anymore." The door opened and Fu Ting burst in. He actually put on a pink apron, rolled up his sleeves to reveal his watch, and fried the beef fillet himself. As the oil smoke rose, he turned around and forked the hot beef tenderloin, and brought it close to her lips. "Open your mouth, my wife smells so good." He whispered magnetically while feeding, his eyes burning like fire. She melted and bit into it, the juice overflowed, and the sweetness was overwhelming. But glass slag flashed back. The night Wancheng went bankrupt, she cried alone till dawn. How could he, Fu Ting, understand the pain? The water bottle in Xiao Wang's hand hit the ground, his eyes bulged, and his voice trembled. "Fu," Mr. Fu kissed. He secretly kissed his forehead during sweaty play. In the past, when actresses asked him for guidance, he just asked the security guards to drag them away. This young lady is treated like a fairy. The cleaning lady peeped behind the mirror and covered her breasts. He whispered, "The tyrant boss is in full mode of doting on his wife. Look at the way the young lady is bumping into each other, all of us old servants are excited." Su Wan slid off the equipment and rushed out of the room as if running away, her heart beating wildly. This kiss is so real. But Chen Feng's threat is like a shadow, how can she dare to fall? Chef Lu glared at the crack of the door, his spoon dropped from the pot and splashed oil, his voice trembling. "Mr. Fu is wearing an apron to play. Cook and feed yourself." Mr. Ting Yuba never enters the kitchen. In the past, Michelin chefs came to perform, but he objected at a glance. "This time, I made an exception for the young mistress. I am so doting," the little chef pointed out. Called depressed, "My wife smells so good. It's so sweet," the young lady melted into water, "we witnessed true love." Su Wan pushed away the fork, turned around and wiped her tears. "Fu Ting, don't pretend. Can you really protect Chen Feng if he wants to destroy me?" His eyes darkened, he took off his apron and threw it on the stage. "We'll see." As night falls, the seaside dinner hall of Tingyu Group is brightly lit, with crystal chandeliers like a sea of stars. Business elites gather, and there is an undercurrent of murderous intent among the suits and leather shoes. Chen Feng, dressed in Armani, approached the main table with champagne and glanced at Su Wan with sinister eyes. "Mr. Fu, happy wedding." Unfortunately, fake marriage videos are flying all over the internet. Your stable wife is debt cannon fodder. The board of directors has jointly requested the withdrawal of the merger. He shouted loudly. Laughing, the surrounding guests whispered, and the boss of Huaxing Fund, Mr. Li, frowned. Fu Ting, this image. If the stock price falls again, we can't agree. The air was frozen, Su Wan's face was pale, despair was like 1,000 arrows piercing her heart. It's over, Chen Feng personally provoked her, she became the target of public criticism. The directors stared at each other from a distance and whispered, Mr. Fu is in trouble this time. The fake marriage is exposed, and Tingyu's dominance is not guaranteed. Fu Ting stood up slowly, his tall figure casting a shadow, his eyes like the fire of hell. He grabbed Chen Feng's tie and pulled him over the edge of the table with a whoosh sound. The wine glass smashed all over the floor, and the fragments flew like a shower of stars. There was dead silence in the hall, and his voice was low and roaring, "Chen Feng, shut up your bitch. She is my only wife, Fu Ting." After saying that, he turned around and put his arms around Su Wan's waist, lowered his head and kissed her lips deeply, domineeringly plundering, entangled with the tip of his tongue, declaring sovereignty. Su Wan's head went blank, her heartbeat exploded, sweetness and shock were intertwined. Chen Feng's face was livid, he was thrown away and fell to the ground. When he got up, blood was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. In the evening, Xia Wanqing stormed into the mansion with a gift box in hand and her eyes were shining. Wan. I heard that Mr. Fu personally teaches fitness and cooking. A fairy tale. That scumbag Chen Feng spread rumors about fake marriages and the internet exploded. The board of directors questioned Fu Ting's stable image, and the stock price fell by 3%. But I'm here to help you. Let's go on a date to a seaside restaurant tomorrow, and let the sweet show of affection slay those black men. Xia Wanqing held her hand, trembling with excitement. Old Chen came in with tea and almost spilled the water. Miss Xia is right. The young master protects his wife, Tingyu is stable. Su Wan hesitated, but was pushed into Fu Ting's car by Xia Wanqing, feeling confused. The whole place exploded. The director, Mr. Li, dropped his wine glass, his eyes bulged, and his voice trembled. Mr. Fu, kissed me? I sincerely prove it. This domineering wife protects Tingyu as steady as a mountain. Mr. Li of Huasheng slapped the table and laughed. Continue the merger. Mr. Fu's kiss is worth 1,000 pieces of gold. The guests' eyes widened, and Lao Chen and Xiao Li screamed behind the waiter, young master is amazing. The moment Chen Feng knelt down, it was so exciting. Young mistress became the only wife, we are invincible. Chen Feng got up in embarrassment and left the stage in despair, his face twisted like a ghost. The afterglow in the dinner hall was like blood, and the broken glass shards shone coldly under the crystal lamp. The guests dispersed in twos and threes, and the whispers were like the undercurrent after the tide receded. Chen Feng's embarrassed figure disappeared into the night, with blood on the corner of his mouth. When his follower Xiao Zhao helped him get into the car, his legs were as weak as noodles and he murmured, Mr. Chen. Fu Ting's look is murderous. When he pulled the tie, I thought your neck was broken, he is determined about this merger. Chen Feng shook off his hand, his face contorted like a ghost, get out. Stare at that bitch Su Wan, the former employee Lao Zhang has taken the money, Wanqing's secret files will be exposed tonight. The car's taillights disappeared into the darkness, leaving a haze. Su Wan's heart was beating like a drum, and the silk of her evening dress was sticky against her body. She leaned on Fu Ting's arm, and her mind replayed the mysterious call, we have obtained the secret file of Wanqing technology. What secret? The core patent left by her father during his lifetime? Or is it a black hole of debt hidden in bankruptcy? Fu Ting hung up the phone, his face as green as the night before a storm. He caressed her back with his big palm, and murmured in a low voice, go home. His voice was like steel wrapped in honey, doting under the pressure of power. She nodded, her legs so weak that she almost fell. When Lao Chen opened the door, his glasses slid down the bridge of his nose, his eyes widened and he whispered, after the young master kissed his protective wife deeply, this Aura, who made the mysterious phone call. Chen Feng is finished, the young mistress's face is as white as paper, let's go. Shaoli nodded like crazy, Mr. Fu says, go home, and the whole world obeys. Tingyu overlord, no one can stop him. As the Rolls-Royce drove onto the coastal road, the night wind whistled and rolled up the curtains. Fu Ting took off his suit jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The diamond wedding ring shone thousands of times under the dashboard light. Cold, he asked, brushing her messy hair away with his long fingers, his eyes as deep as the ocean. Su-won shook her head, confused. This man slapped Chen Feng in the face for her, publicly announced his only wife, and yet he accepted such a call. She bit her lip. Fu Ting, what's that phone number? Wancheng's file. His eyes flashed, and he squeezed her shoulders. Go to sleep, wife. I'll take you to work tomorrow. She was unable to ask, leaning on his chest, listening to his heartbeat like a war drum. Sweetness and doubt intertwined, and she had arrived at the top mansion before closing her eyes. The morning light of the next day pierced the floor-to-ceiling windows, and the private garage was like a sci-fi fortress. More than a dozen luxury cars were lined up, and Lamborghinis and Ferraris shone with metallic luster. Fu Ting put on a dark blue suit and a sword-like tie, drove the Porsche Panamera himself, and pressed Su-won into the passenger seat. Go to work and revive Wancheng. He ordered. The engine roared like a beast, and the car shot out of the promenade like an arrow. Surrounded by a convoy of bodyguards, Lao Chen peeked in the rearview mirror, sweating on his forehead. Young master personally drove the young mistress. In the past, when the secretary asked for this kind of treatment, he would just call a helicopter to throw her away. This kind of favor is the ceiling of a wealthy family. Shaoli held the steering wheel with trembling hands. Wancheng Technology was on the verge of bankruptcy yesterday. Today, Mr. Fu secretly injected 500 million to renew the order. The stock price has surged, and Chen Feng's rumors have been suppressed. Wancheng Technology Building, the glass curtain wall reflects the urban steel jungle, the heart of the CBD where business elites gather. Su-won stepped into the conference room and tapped her high heels on the marble. The employees whispered, Mr. Su is back. Last night, the online fake marriage video exploded. Mr. Tingyu and Fu publicly kissed deeply. Chen Feng was thrown to the ground. The stock price soared by 5%. She, the fake wife, has turned over. Financial boss, Chen Feng collected the insider who bought it, wiped his sweat and hid in a corner, murmuring guiltily, the files have been sold, the patents have been leaked, and Wancheng has collapsed. Su-won glanced at everyone, and her voice was firm. Everyone, the debt is cleared, the 500 million renewal order has been received, and the patent project will be restarted. We will not fail. There was thunderous applause, and her heart was burning. Fu Ting secretly injected capital. Is this man protecting her country quietly? At noon, the sunshine in the mansion's kitchen is like honey. The marble countertop is piled with cream, chocolate, and strawberries, and the fresh ingredients exude a sweet aroma. Fu Ting broke in for the first time, took off his suit, rolled up his sleeves, and put on a pink apron. Last night he heard from Lao Lu that Su-won loved desserts, so he secretly followed the Michelin tutorial. The oven was buzzing while preheating, and he tried to knead the dough, but he used too much force, and the flour exploded with a pop sound, like a smoke bomb exploding in the kitchen. Cream splashed on the table, egg shells shattered on the ground, his face was covered with frost, and his apron was twisted. The usually cold and tyrannical boss was as embarrassed as a chef's apprentice, grabbing strawberries and smashing them on the floor. Su-won pushed the door open and burst into laughter. Fu Ting, you make dessert. Ting Yuba always smashes the kitchen, this scene is magical. She bent over with laughter, tears bursting out, her despair disappeared last night. Fu Ting frowned, turned around and pulled her into his arms, rubbing his flour against her cheeks, covering his lips like a kiss. Honey, have you laughed enough? Help me. He growled, his voice hoarse and embarrassed, his arms wrapped around her waist, and his chest rose and fell tightly. Chef Lu peeped outside the door, smashed a water bottle on his feet, his eyes bulged and trembled. Mr. Fu, smashed the kitchen to ask for help from the young lady? He was playing in a mess in an apron, the contrast is so cute, it kills me. He has not been Michelin in the past, but this time he broke the habit for his wife, he is so doting. The little chef covered her mouth and screamed to suppress. We interacted in the hug, the dessert crisis became intimate, the young lady laughed like a flower. Let's witness the weakness of the boss. Su-won blushed and pushed him. She took the mixer and taught her how to knead the dough. The warmth melted and the cream touched her fingers. He suddenly took her fingertips into his mouth and licked them clean. Her eyes were hot, sweet. Her heartbeat exploded and she pushed away. Fu Ting, you did it on purpose. In the midst of laughter, the dessert came out, golden and crispy, and took a bite of it, which was fragrant and juicy, as sweet as love. At dusk, the private gym is brightly lit, the equipment is like a steel jungle, and the mirror walls reflect the sheen of sweat. Fu Tingqi came back with his upper body, his abdominal muscles were as sharp as a knife, and beads of sweat rolled down his V-line. Seeing Su Wan struggling in front of the barbell, her bruised knees not healed, he gritted his teeth and murmured, Wan Xing's crisis has arisen again. Lao Zhang leaked the secret. I can't always rely on him. Pressed by despair, she fell to her knees, tears rolling down her cheeks. Suddenly, an iron arm supported his waist from behind and raised it high to press the yoga ball. He leaned over and covered it with sweat dripping from his collarbone. Clamp your legs and arch your waist. He pressed the inner thigh with his big palm to forcefully correct it. He breathed on his neck and smelled musk on his face. Su Wan blushed like fire and refused. Fu Ting, let go. He lowered his head to kiss his forehead, slid it to his earlobe and nibbled it, and admitted hoarsely, honey, I like it when you take the initiative. The deep kiss last night was not fake. Emotions surged, her brain buzzed, and she flashed back to glass shards. The fake contract was 3 months old, and the red book was cold. Wasn't he taking advantage of it? Is this, still fake? She questioned, her voice trembling. Su Wan's breath was unstable, and she leaned into Fu Ting's arms and burst into tears. Is this man escorting her? But after the dinner, Fu Ting's cell phone vibrated, and a mysterious call appeared. He glanced at it, his face changed slightly, and he pressed answer. Su Wan overheard the other party whispering, Mr. Fu, we have obtained the secret files of Wanxing technology. The night was shrouded in Wanxing's office with bright lights. Su Wan stared at the computer with a pale face. Lao Zhang leaked secrets, patent files were exposed online, partners withdrew capital, and creditors bombarded her with phone calls. Chen Feng, you bastard. She smashed the keyboard, despairing like an abyss, and her dream of reviving the company was shattered. The employee's girl cried, Mr. Su, it's over. Chen Feng bought Lao Zhang, black materials were flying everywhere, and the stock price was cut in half. On the verge of collapse, Fu Ting barged in, his tall figure blocking the door. His phone had been connected to the Ministry of Justice and the China Securities Regulatory Commission, and his voice was as cold as ice. Chen Feng, the traitor Lao Zhang, arrest him. Wanxing patent, Tingyu, bought it out and suppressed all news. Within an hour, all the black materials were deleted, the stock price rebounded, and the creditor knelt down on the phone to beg for mercy. The surrounding employees stared wide-eyed, and the finance girl knelt on her knees. Mr. Fu is suppressed by his power. Chen Feng is finished. He secretly invested in the Capital Protection Company, this boss, God. Lao Zhang was dragged out by the security, his face twisted and he cried, Mr. Fu, spare your life, I was wrong. Fitness coach Xiao Wang dropped the dumbbells to the ground, his eyes bulging and trembling. Mr. Fu is sweating again. Admit that he likes to take the initiative. In the past, when actresses touched him, the security guard dragged him away, but this time he confessed to the young mistress, it's a miracle. The cleaning lady covered her heart behind the mirror, the emotional pull, the sweet pet in the glass slag, the young mistress has tears in her eyes, we are heartbroken and happy. However, Su Wan had a misunderstanding and pushed his hand away. Fu Ting, you are using me. The image of the merger is stable, Wanxing's patent is obtained, you win. She burst into tears, and the glass shard stabbed her heart. Is there a conspiracy behind the sweet pet? Fu Ting's eyes darkened and he clenched his fists, silly woman. The next day, Xia Wanqing walked into Wanxing, her eyes were bright with her handheld coffee. Wan. Mr. Fu suppressed Chen Feng yesterday, bought out the patent to save the company, and protected his wife. But I heard that Chen Feng and Fu Ting had a deep grudge in the past. 5 years ago, Chen Feng plagiarized Ting Yu's project, and was taken over by Fu Ting. His family was ruined, and they have been feuding ever since. In this merger, he jumped over the wall. Su Wan's heart suddenly exploded. Grudge. Secret files. She gritted her teeth. Wan Qing, I want to find out. Late at night, I sneaked into Fu Ting's study. Su Wan's trembling fingertips touched the depth of the drawer. The stack of yellowed files was entangled like a poisonous snake. The 5 words, Chen Feng Project Files, on the cover were as dazzling as a knife. Her heart was beating fast, the moonlight stretched out the shadows, the air in the study was stagnant and turned into ice, the mahogany bookshelf stood like a judge, and mountains of confidential documents were piled around her, giving off the faint smell of aged ink mixed with tobacco. Quickly opening the page, the first page revealed the transfer records of Ting Yu Group 5 years ago, a huge sum of 500 million, directly funded by Galaxy Technology, the rival company of Chen Feng's plagiarized project, with the words, suppressing Chen Feng's expansion and preparing for mergers and acquisitions. Her mind roared. Fu Ting, had he known about Chen Feng's grievances and helped his opponent eliminate hidden dangers? This sweet pet, smashing the kitchen, and fitness confession, are they all pawns of Machiavellian tactics? Wanqing's patent buyout and company redemption are just smokescreens to stabilize the market through mergers and acquisitions. Tears blurred her vision, and she bit her lip to bleed. Despair was like 1,000 needles piercing her heart. The file fell to the ground, and the sound exploded in the silence. Suddenly, the elevator dinged softly, and footsteps approached like war drums. Su Wan was so distraught that she hurriedly stuffed the file back with bare feet, knocking over the crystal pen holder, and the cracking sound was like an alarm bell. She ducked into the shadow of the bookcase, her heart beating loudly, praying that the man wouldn't notice. The doorknob turned, and Fu Ting's tall figure walked in. His suit was straight but his tie was loose. The fatigue on his brows was like a storm. The screen of his mobile phone lit up with a ruthless red light. Chen Feng was out. Messages from the board of directors popped up like crazy. Mr. Fu, rumors of divestment of Huaxing Fund are flying all over the sky. Chen Feng said that the merger and acquisition project was ruined, and the stock price collapsed by 20% in 3 days. The board of directors met urgently. Fu Ting's eyes were as deep as the deep, and he punched the desk, sawdust flying, and his voice was as cold as his bones. Chen Feng, you are looking for death. He called the secretary, and his tone was like a sword unsheathed. Block the news, use public relations. Huaxing, I will personally. Let's take a flight. Mergers and acquisitions are going on, whoever stands in the way will be killed. The secretary's trembling voice on the phone said, Mr. Fu. Chen Feng has dug up all the old debts of Galaxy, and the evidence that you helped suppress his family's bankruptcy is all over Netflix. The stock price has dropped by 3%, and the employees are panicking. Fu Ting hung up, rubbed his brows, and murmured, Wanner, don't be afraid, my husband will protect you. He glanced at the study, frowned, picked up the files, turned around and left with a flash of his eyes. Su Wan huddled in the shadow, her back wet with sweat. She waited until the footsteps were gone before she slipped out of the study. Her legs were limp and she sat on the carpet in the corridor, tears streaming down her face. Fu Ting works overtime to deal with the crisis, but her mind is full of dark history, playing with emotions. Are fake marriages really being used? Heartbroken, she wiped her tears and got up, staggering downstairs in the night. The light in the mansion's kitchen was as warm as a lie, the marble countertop reflected the moonlight, and the refrigerator hummed to spit out fresh ingredients. She took a deep breath and decided proactively, no matter what, she would give him a midnight snack tonight to comfort this man. Otherwise, misunderstanding is like a cancer-devouring sweetness. She rolled up her sleeves and grabbed steak, red wine, and herbs. The oil pan sizzled, and the aroma spread like a honey net, trying to suppress her inner demons. Her mind flashed back to her fitness confession and finger-licking desserts in the kitchen. She gritted her teeth and said, Su Wan, don't be stupid. If he was really bad, he would have thrown you into debt. At 2 o'clock in the morning, Fu Ting pushed in through the door with his tired body, his shirt wrinkled and his cuffs stained with ink. The board of directors held a video conference for 3 hours. He personally suppressed the rumors of Huasheng's divestment. The stock price stopped bleeding and rebounded, but Chen Feng's dark storm remained. When the kitchen light came on, he was stunned. Su Wan's slender waist was twisting, the steak was fried golden and juicy, and the candlelight flickered, reflecting the picturesque side of her face. Wife, late-night snack. His voice was hoarse, surprise burst out in his tired eyes, his iron arms wrapped around her waist from behind, his chin rested on her shoulder, and his breath was hot. Chen Feng took the initiative to acquire Huang. I thought I would have no sleep tonight, your wife is so sweet. Su Wan's heart trembled, strong. Turning around with a smile, he took the steak and put it to his lips, flirting and comforting, eat it, Mr. Ba. Is Hua Xing stable? Ting Yu is invincible. He took a big bite, and the juice flowed down the corner of his lips. His eyes were hot and he pulled her to sit on his lap. They fed each other with the fork, and the red wine poured down the collarbone. He lowered his head. Licking it clean, he whispered with his lips close to his ear, my wife took the initiative, I'm hard. I'll handle the merger and acquisition, just sweeten me. Chef Lu peeked through the door, smashed the coffee cup on the floor, his eyes bulged and screamed, young lady has a midnight snack. Mr. Fu was fed and licked wine when he was exhausted. The crisis of merger and acquisition turned into flirting, what a contrast. In the past, he smashed the table and yelled at the secretary while working overtime, but now his wife melted him. The sweetness is heating up, the candlelight steaks are being fed to each other. What is Chen Feng's black wind? We are witnessing the boss's weakness. Sweet as a wave, Fu Ting hugged her to the table and kissed her like a torrential downpour. He put his hands into his apron and gasped, Wanner, I love you for taking the initiative. She refused for a moment and murmured with a red face, fit out first, then sweat. He stood up with a low smile and pulled her into the private gym. The lights were dim and the equipment was like steel beasts, and the mirror wall shimmered with sweat. Fu Ting took off his shirt and went naked. His 8-pack abs were shiny and his V-line was deep. He pressed her on the yoga ball, and sweat dripped down her neck. He said, clamp your legs, arch your waist, my wife. He pressed the inner thighs with his big palms to forcefully straighten them, and breathed musk. She blushed and pushed him, Fu Ting, you are tired from working overtime. Let's take a rest. He took off his coldness and rarely shared his childhood. He leaned over and whispered, little at that time, my father abandoned the family and my mother died of illness. I trained my iron arms just to protect one person. Now that I have you, what's the point of mergers and acquisitions? I would have crushed Chen Feng's dark history. He kissed her forehead and gently bit her earlobe, saying, wife, I will protect you forever. Coach Xiao Wang rolled his dumbbells on the floor, wide-eyed and trembling. Mr. Fu shared his childhood. In the past, if he asked him about personal matters, he would be fired directly. Now he is taking off his armor and confessing to protect his wife, and he is a sweetheart in the merger crisis, God. The cleaning lady screamed heartbroken behind the mirror, sweat yoga ball play, childhood glass slag turned into a promise, young mistress melted, we are so happy. The next morning, Xia Wanqing broke into the mansion, her eyes lit up with breakfast in hand, and she saw Su Wan's cheeks flushed. Gossip broke out, Wan. Dual play for fitness last night. Fu Ting worked overtime to protect the merger, you took the initiative to melt him, it's so sweet. Chen Feng failed to expose, the stock price rose by 8%, he funded Xinghe 5 years ago to eradicate evil with justice, don't doubt it. I believe in love, this man is crazy about protecting his wife, and fake marriage will happen early true love. Su Wan smiled and shook her head, the shadow of the dark file in her heart still lingering, Wanqing, he Xia Wanqing hugged her and spun her around, silly. Tingyu has no black spots, Chen Feng is a ghost. Love him. Her best friend's persuasion was like warm currents, but Su Wan was half convinced. During the lunch meeting, Fu Ting kissed the screen and doted on her, wife, the merger is stable, let's celebrate tonight. Her heart was warm, and the misunderstanding was like ice. But at night, the crisis arises again. In the Wanqing conference room, Su Wan stared at the email, her face turned pale. Fu Ting had funded Xinghe, screenshots of the evidence were flying everywhere, and the title was, Tingyu's Black Hands Destroyed the Chen Family, the inside story of the merger. The employees were whispering, and the girl at the front desk glared and whispered, Mr. Su, Mr. Fu is sponsoring his opponent to destroy Chen Feng's family. Is this, playing with emotions? Yesterday's sweet video was trending, and today it's a scandal. The finance girl's legs went weak and she muttered, is the merger or acquisition a dirty deal? Is Huaxing really withdrawing? We're finished. Su Wan was overwhelmed with despair, the files in her mind overlapped, and shards of glass pricked her heart. Behind the sweet pet, is it all a conspiracy? She rushed out of the company, went straight to the top floor of Tingyu building, pushed past Fu Ting's office, and tapped the marble with her high heels. He was pressing the director on video, and when she saw her turning around with tears in her eyes, her eyebrows furrowed, Wanner. She threw out the printed evidence, her voice trembling, Fu Ting, you helped Xinghe destroy Chen Feng, played with my feelings. Fake marriage, save the company, fitness confessions, all are pawns of mergers and acquisitions. The secretary Xiao Zhao around him dropped his glasses and shouted with a round face, young lady asked about the black history. Mr. Fu protected the merger and acquisition like a god yesterday, but now we are in a dispute with glass slag, and we are worried. Assistant Shaoli clenched his fists and suppressed, the truth has exploded, the funding is justice for old accounts, young lady has a deep misunderstanding. At midnight, the door of the study room of the mansion is ajar, the moonlight shines on the mahogany desk, and confidential documents are piled up like a mountain. Su Wan sneaked in barefoot, her heart beating like thunder, she pushed open the drawer and touched a stack of files. Fu Ting's eyes darkened, he stood up and embraced her with his iron arms, his voice was as domineering as thunder, silly woman, this was plagiarism by Chen Feng 5 years ago, and I fought back righteously. You have no right to ask. After saying this, her heart broke like glass bursting, and she burst into tears and pushed his chest away, Fu Ting, you bastard. He staggered out and rushed out. The moment the elevator door closed, his phone vibrated, Chen Feng called, Miss Su, let's meet alone. I have irrefutable evidence of Fu Tingyi's history. Do you believe it? On the other end of the phone, Chen Feng chuckled like a snake spitting out a message, while the jazz music of the luxury bar was faint in the background, Ms. Su, I am here alone at Dusk Cafe. Fu Ting abandoned your Wanqing project 5 years ago and personally pushed your family to bankruptcy. Here is the irrefutable proof. Whether you come or not is up to you. The tone was sinister, so he simply hung up. Su Wan sat on the corner of the elevator with her legs slipping. As the elevator went down, the mirror reflected her paleness and despair, sweaty kisses from the gym, sweet licks from wine in the kitchen, all shattered into shards of glass. In the lobby of Tingyu, under the splendid chandelier, the girl at the front desk whispered with her eyes wide open, my young lady is bursting into tears. I just asked Mr. Fu about his dark history and helped Xinghe destroy the Chen family. This misunderstanding exploded. We heard from the secretary that Mr. Fu melted after last night's supper, and today the glass is heartbroken. The security guard Wang held the walkie-talkie and his legs shook. My young lady burst into tears in the elevator, Chen Feng's evil style has returned, is Mr. Fu's myth of protecting his wife going to be overturned? On the street at dusk, with the neon light starting to shine, Su Wan took a yellow taxi and went straight to the private cafe designated by Chen Feng. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the wealthy city is bustling with traffic. Inside, surrounded by red velvet sofas, the air is filled with the bitterness of Blue Mountain coffee. Chen Feng is wearing a suit and leather shoes, with sharp eagle eyes, and the documents stacked on his desk are stacked like blades. Seeing her push the door open, he taunted his lips, "Mr. Su, sit down. Fu Ting played with your feelings and faked a marriage to save the company, all for the purpose of stabilizing the merger and acquisition. 5 years ago, your father Wanqing asked Ting Yu to invest in a project. I personally saw Fu Ting throw out the check and abandon the case, marking, 'Worthless, get out.' Your family is deeply in debt and bankrupt because of him." He threw out a yellowed copy of the contract, and the record of the transfer refusal was clear. Ting Yu refused to invest 500 million in Wanqing, and Su's father's signature was trembling with trembling handwriting. Su Wan's brain was pounding like thunder. She knelt down and read, her hands trembling like leaves, "It's impossible. Dad never mentioned it. He said the market collapsed." Chen Feng leaned forward with a sneer and clicked the coffee spoon on the cup. "Fu Ting's black hands helped me plagiarize my opponent Xinghe and destroy my family. This round, you are the fake wife's chess piece. Here is the ironclad evidence. Leave him and join me. I will help you with revenge and merger." The waiter said. Pan passed by, glaring at him and lowering his voice. "Young Master Chen exposed Mr. Fu's dark history of quitting. Miss Su's face is as white as paper, this truth is poisonous. In the past, Fu Ting suppressed Chen Feng like a dog, but now he's counterattacking and exploded." The bartender at the bar slipped his bottle and murmured that his legs were weak. 5 years ago, Wanqing went bankrupt, so Fu Ting rejected it? There is a deep conspiracy behind the fake marriage and sweet pet. We heard that the hot gossip is going to explode. Su Wan's heart was broken like thousands of arrows piercing her heart, and the file was glaring. She staggered to her feet, knocked over the coffee cup, and brown liquid spilled on the carpet like blood. "Chen Feng, you win." She rushed out of the coffee shop, the night wind swept through the dusk, and she ran into the street in tears. Fu Ting's childhood confession flashed in her mind, a lie. In the taxi, she huddled up and sobbed. The driver glanced at the rearview mirror and exclaimed, "Miss, why are you so beautiful crying like this? A grudge between a wealthy family? Mrs. Fu Ting is searching for the queen, and there is so much scandal in the sky today." When she arrived at Fu Ting's mansion, the iron door opened and closed automatically, and she walked in. The marble stairs reflected the moonlight in silence, the crystal chandelier in the living room shed silver light, and the air was as stagnant as a tomb. Opening the door to the master bedroom, the lights were bright. Fu Ting's dark blue suit was half unbuttoned, and he was leaning against the sofa with his eyes closed and rubbing his eyebrows. The female secretary Xiao Zhao knelt down to pick up documents, with the collar of her shirt slightly open. She handed the water glass with a red face. "Mr. Fu, drink water to calm down the fire, Huaxing's M&A progress is stable." Fu Ting took it, patted her shoulder with an iron arm, and said in a tired and doting tone, "Thank you, Xiao Zhao, you are the most stable when working overtime tonight." Xiao Zhao lowered his head shyly, and the touch on his shoulder was as ambiguous as electricity. Su Wan peeked through the crack in the door, and her heart was as sharp as a knife. The female secretary is being intimate? The dark history of abandoning one's family and playing with emotions is all right. She pushed open the door and barged in, her high heels tapping the floor like a war drum. "Fu Ting. You and your secretary are so affectionate. 5 years ago, you abandoned Wanqing and ruined my family. Now you are pretending to be your favorite and taking advantage of me. Get away." Fu Ting stood up suddenly, his eyes as deep as abyss. The servants around him heard the sound and rushed over, staring. Round eyes and weak legs, the old housekeeper trembled. "Young lady, you saw Mr. Fu patting the secretary on the shoulder. There is a deep misunderstanding. In the past, all the female secretaries have been replaced, but now Xiao Zhao is the only one working overtime." Chef Lu covered his mouth outside the door. The dark history of abandonment is exposed, the intimate scene explodes, and the myth of sweet pets is shattered. Fu Ting held the air with his iron arms and said in a thunderous voice, Warner, listen to my explanation. Chen Feng framed me. He copied my patent 5 years ago, and he secretly cut off the Wanqing project. I refuse to take refuge in danger. Su Wan burst into tears, threw away his chest, and grabbed the wardrobe lever opened, and designer dresses poured out. Explanation. The coffee shop has proven that you dumped Dad's check. The secretary patted her on the shoulder sweetly. Enough of the fake marriage, I'm leaving. She stuffed the diamond ring into the drawer, threw the red book to the floor, and staggered downstairs dragging the suitcase. Fu Ting chased her to the living room, punched the piano, and the keys rang wildly. Su Wan, don't make trouble. I'll stop you at the airport. She didn't look back, the iron door slammed shut, and the night swallowed her figure. The servants were stealing in the corridor, their eyes bulging. Young lady is getting divorced. Mr. Fu smashes the piano to chase his wife, and the family changes during the merger crisis. What a turnaround. In the past, he was cold and ruthless, but now he is chasing the crazy man at the airport. The airport expresses, rain falls suddenly, thunder rolls, Su Wan rushes to the boarding gate after the security check, her boarding pass is soaked, her mobile phone is turned off, and she is extremely disappointed. The broadcast echoed, and in the bustle of passengers, her mind flashed to sweaty kisses on fitness yoga balls, and feeding each other steaks in the kitchen, sweet poison. Suddenly, the VIP channel's iron arms grasped his waist like iron pincers. Fu Ting's soaked suit was close to his body. Rainwater poured down his forehead. His eyes were burning. Warner, don't leave. The security inspector's eyes widened and he backed away with weak legs. Fu Ting himself is chasing the airport. Live broadcast by a wealthy family, blocking his wife in the rain. What a drama. Passengers gathered around to watch wildly filming on their mobile phones, and screamed, the boss is about to chase his wife and kiss her in the rain. Hot search for reservations. Fu Ting dragged her under the awning. The heavy rain poured down on the ground like a drum, and the thunder reflected the outline of his iron face like a god. He pressed her against the corner, supported her with his iron arms, and blew his cheeks with hot breath. Listen, Chen Feng framed your father's project 5 years ago. He copied my core patents, and I refused to evade his dirty hands. Wanqing went bankrupt, and his debts were overwhelming. Secretary. Working overtime and patting me on the shoulder. That's all, you're just thinking. Su Wan refused and burst into tears. Where is the irrefutable evidence? Abandoning your family is a black history. He growled and leaned over, his lips suddenly sealed with hers, his tongue was wild in the city, the rain was mixed with salty tears, his hands were clasped around his waist like melting water. I love you, from the Civil Affairs Bureau from the day we held hands. I squeezed your legs in the gym, licked wine in the kitchen, and confessed to my childhood, all sincerely. I have suppressed Chen Feng's little tricks, and his dark wind has disappeared. Huaxing signed the contract and moved forward, and he gasped and murmured, eh. He put it on her forehead, honey, trust me. The number of passengers screamed loudly, and the flight attendant's legs went weak. I confessed my love with a forced kiss in the rain. Mr. Fu is crazy about protecting his wife, and even the airport security guards knelt down. The photographer's flash exploded. Number 1 hot search, the masterpiece of a domineering boss chasing his wife. The elevator door closed with a ding. Su Wan's back was pressed against the cold metal wall, her tears were not dry, and Chen Feng's name flickered on the screen of her mobile phone like a ghost. Her fingers were trembling in the air, and the files in her mind overlapped with the questioning scenes. Fu Ting's domineering attitude with an iron arm around his waist, turned into a cold thunder, you have no right to ask, in an instant. Her heart felt like it was falling into an ice cave. She took a deep breath, pressed answer, and pretended to be calm in her voice. Chen Feng, what is the irrefutable evidence? Tell me. Back at the mansion, the lights were warm late at night, and the marble table in the kitchen reflected the candlelight. Fu Ting was frying steak clumsily in his apron, and the oil smoke filled the fragrant honey net. Wife, let's play together. She smiled into her arms, feeding each other with forks, and the juice flowed down her lips. He lowered his head to lick it clean, and his lips were close to his ear. I love you, take the initiative to sweeten me. His hands reached for the apron, and the kiss was like a heavy rain, and he pressed the countertop while breathing. Her slender waist was arched, and beads of sweat slid down her collarbone. Warner, we will never be separated. Old Lou peeked through the door, smashed the coffee cup again, his eyes bulged out and screamed. We kissed each other deeply in the kitchen. After Yujui's arrival at the airport, she became so sweet. Chen Feng crushed her with her little moves, and the merger was so fast. We are so excited. The little cook covered her breasts and legs were weak, confessing sincerely melts the ice, feeding each other licking juice and playing, the boss's weakness is fully exposed. Su Wan softened half-heartedly, her legs went limp against his chest, and she trembled in the rain. Ting, the truth. The phone vibrated, and Xia Wanqing's video broke in, with mansions running around in the background. Wan. I dug up irrefutable evidence of Chen Feng's frame-up. 5 years ago, he intercepted Hu Wanqing's patent, and Fu Ting refused to surrender to save your father. Life. The secretary only works overtime. I believe in love. Come back. After her best friend yelled, Xia Wanqing was shown holding the documents and laughing wildly. I hacked into Chen Feng's mailbox, and there is all the evidence of revenge. Fu Ting really loves the ceiling. Su Wan burst into tears, and Fu Ting picked her up and turned away from the airport, his iron arms like a fortress in the rain. The candlelight in the kitchen flickered like a will-o'-the-wisp, and the steak was sizzling with oil, but it couldn't cover up the dazzling light of the red message on Fu Ting's cell phone screen. Old Man Li's handwriting was painted with iron hooks, and the replies from the directors in the group came like a flood. Mr. Fu, forged red books. The stock price is worried, the emergency meeting is scheduled for 3 o'clock in the morning. This is a backstab to Tingyu's image, explain. Fu Ting's iron arms were still tightly clasped around Su Wan's slim waist, and she arched her body against his chest, sweat beads sliding down her collarbones. The warmth from the deep kiss just now was still there, but it was frozen by this surprise attack. The air was stagnant, and there was a faint smell of burnt oil in the air. Old Lou covered his mouth and legs outside the door, and before sweeping away the coffee cup fragments, he whispered tremblingly, the board of directors is fried. All fake marriage emails are collected. Li Laotai coldly questions. Mr. Fu dotes on his wife. The crisis is dark. Overwhelming, this reversal is so depressing. The little cook sat down against the wall, her eyes red and swollen. After Yujui's masterpiece at the airport, Chen Feng's remnants counterattack. We heard secret rumors in the group, anonymous emails attached to videos, and red book scans to forge irrefutable evidence. Tingyu's stock price fell by 5%. Fu Ting's eyes were as deep as the abyss. He turned off his phone and threw it on the countertop, making the glass tremble and buzz. He lowered his head to kiss Su Wan's forehead, and said in a low, hoarse voice, "Honey, this bitch Chen Feng is still here. Don't be afraid, I'll deal with it." Su Wan's heart tightened, and the newly melted sweetness solidified like syrup. She pushed his apron away, and her fork dropped to the ground with a crisp sound. Ting, what should I do about this exposure? The contract. In March, my company's debts were cleared, and you secretly bet 500 million, but the board of directors has irrefutable proof. Are you sincere, or your image? The temptation was like a fine needle piercing her heart. Her mind flashed back to the yellowing contract of Chen Feng's coffee shop, which was stained with rejection of investment 5 years ago. Even if the truth was a frame-up, the pain of the glass shards still lingered. Fu Tingtai slapped her cheek and suppressed his anger. Believe me, being a sweetheart is not an act. Banging on the gym wall, licking the juice in the kitchen, it's all for you. He picked her up, turned around and pressed her on the marble table, sealing her lips with questions, tangled with honey on the tip of her tongue, and murmured in her breath, we will never be separated. Old Lu Menzai's eyes widened, and he punched his thigh to suppress his scream. You still kiss deeply in a crisis. Mr. Fu protects his wife overbearingly, and this sweetness suppresses the stock price worries. our legs are sore and weak. At 3 o'clock in the morning, in the top-floor conference room of Tinyu Group, the city's neon lights pulsated like blood outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. After the heavy rain, the clouds hung low and darkness enveloped the steel jungle. Old Manley rolled his wheelchair and scanned the audience with eagle eyes like knives. The anonymous email on the projection screen was enlarged, the scan of the red book was blurry but dazzling, with the note, Fu Ting's fake marriage stabilizes the market, Tinyu conceals shareholders, and the acquisition of Huasheng is extremely risky. The directors were in straight suits, with cold sweat on their foreheads. Director Wang drummed his fingers on the table tremblingly. Mr. Fu, the stock price rose 8% yesterday and is now expected to fall. Chen Feng's water army has been on the hot search. This is irrefutable proof. Fu Ting sat on the throne, as cold as a statue, clenching the water glass with an iron fist, and the sound of shattering resounded, forgery. Chen Feng's black history was exposed for plagiarism 5 years ago. Guang, I treat him like a dog. This time, the remnant hired a troll. The evidence is that I have locked the source of the email and will block it tomorrow. Old Manley snorted coldly, approaching in a wheelchair. Boy, are you hiding a big secret? In March of the fake marriage, Su Wan, a gold digger, has been on the hot search, proving that she has a stable image. Evidence. The audience took a breath, and Secretary Xiao Zhao was holding coffee outside the door with her legs shaking. Mr. Fu held a blood pressure meeting, Li Laotai was questioning him in a wheelchair, and a dark cloud of crisis loomed over the city. We heard the attack of the navy, Su Wan is in trouble and wants to marry Fu Ting, and the money-worshipping queen is selling herself in the kitchen. The first hot search hit. At dawn, Fu Ting's Rolls-Royce Phantom slid into the downstairs of Su Wan's company. The engine roared like an animal's breath, dark clouds filled the sky and the rain was as thin as needles pricking the car windows. He pushed open the door and got out of the car, put his iron arm around her waist, and declared domineeringly, "Honey, I will pick you up and drop you off at work. Chen Feng's navy is cheating on my wife. I will publicly clarify." Su Wan had a complicated mood, leaning on his chest but frowning slightly. The employees in the company lobby were stealing, and Xiao Li at the front desk whispered with wide eyes, "Mr. Fu personally picks up and drop off." Yesterday's hot search for Mr. Su's money. The sky is full of videos, clips of fitness kisses, kitchen aprons playing with the slogan, "Fake wife for sale," and still pampering in a crisis. The contrast is oppressive. The security guard Zhang said with weak legs holding the walkie-talkie, "President Ting Yuba protects his wife under the dark clouds after the rain, luxury cars flash when the stock price fluctuates, we hear gossip, Chen Feng hires thousands of soldiers, and President Su's reputation is shattered." During her lunch break at work, Su Wan's mobile phone was buzzing wildly, and hot search pop-ups were like poisonous arrows. Hashtag Fukichin flirting selling body evidence hashtag, a video clip of her arching on a fitness ball, licking and feeding juice to each other in the kitchen, with the caption, "A woman in distress climbs into a wealthy family, Tingyu's merger and acquisition is a prop to stabilize the market." The comment area was full of blood, bitch. Mr. Fu was deceived into pretending to be a wife. Queen of money worshippers, March contract exposed, Huasheng M&A Huang. Su Wan sat pale on the chair, her hands trembling like leaves, recalling the scenes of creditor's pursuit and father's signature when she was in trouble, trembling, and glass shards hurting her heart and bursting. The employees of the company were watching in the corridor, wide-eyed and murmuring, "Mr. Su's hot search queen turned into a gold-worshipping bitch." Fu Ting's video of kissing the whole network, "The crisis is overwhelming, our legs are weak, this black wind is poisonous." In Fu Tingtingyu's headquarters, the public relations department was brightly lit. He smashed the table with his iron fist and said in a thunderous voice, "Blocked. All media will delete posts, the IP of the Navy will be tracked, and Chen Feng's project will be frozen." Public Relations Manager Xiao Wang's sweat dropped from his forehead, and ranked first in the hottest searches on the computer screen. "Freeze, Mr. Fu, the power has been suppressed, the hot search has been withdrawn, but the aftermath of public opinion, the stock price fell by 3%. He bowed his head and exited, his legs weak, and muttered, "Mr. Ba publicly clarified the video and sent out, Su Wan is my real wife, Chen Feng is suing for defamation." The whole network was shocked. We listened to the employees. Mr. Fu made his wife a media god, and she became so doting during the crisis. In the Weibo live broadcast room, Fu Ting appeared coldly in a suit, with the magnificent Tinyu building in the background. "Su Wan is my only one, the fitness kitchen is private and sweet, not for sale." Chen Feng's black history of plagiarism 5 years ago has been exposed again, and the acquisition of Huaxing is progressing steadily. The slanderers will see you in court. The barrage exploded, and fans screamed, "Wife protecting madman." Black clouds are overwhelming and counterattack. The Navy collapsed, and the hot search reversed #feuding ceiling #. In the evening, in the mansion gym, the cold metal of the equipment reflects the dim light, and black clouds billow like ink outside the window. Fu Ting's upper body was naked, and her abdominal muscles were glistening with sweat. He pulled Su Wan to the squash machine, pressed her iron arm against the wall, and breathed hotly, "Honey, have you tested it enough? Chen Feng, I will crush the black wind. I believe you are sincere." He leaned over and kissed her neck, sweat dripping down her collarbone. The equipment rod was cold against her back, and the ambiguity heated up and exploded in depression. Su Wan's legs were soft and she arched her body, but she pushed his chest with tears streaming down her face. "Ting, there are all kinds of troll videos all over the sky, and the money-worshipping label sticks to me. Can you publicly clarify, is it your lover or your image? 5 years ago, I refused to invest in glass, and my dad didn't tell me the truth. My family is going bankrupt, and now it's hot and broken." Glass shards were pouring out, and she broke free and ran out of the gym, her figure trembling with sweat soaked through. Fu Ting punched the instrument, the steel dented and buzzed. "Su Wan." In the dinner kitchen, the steak feeding play on the marble table should have been sweet. He took a fork of the juicy meat and put it to his lips. "Open your mouth, wife." Su Wan threw away the fork, and a screenshot of the forged email in the red book was projected on the phone. The board of directors questioned the concealment. "Do you love the image? Contracted to save my company, secretly betting 500 million in exchange for stability, sweet pet fake." The dispute escalated, and she ran down the stairs in tears. "Dragging suitcases and stuffing clothes, I'm moving out. I'm as independent as before." The servants in the corridor stared with wide eyes and weak legs, and the old housekeeper trembled. Is it really heartbreaking for a young lady to question? Mr. Fu's gymnastics sound turned to glass. "The crisis is dark, the mansion is empty." Xiao Lu covered his chest. After the public clarification, Mr. Su recalled old wounds and moved out. We listened to the group, and the stock price rose steadily by 2%, but the situation was so depressing. In the midst of their deep affection, Fu Ting's cell phone buzzed, and the board of directors group message flashed red. Old man Li's tone was cold. "Fu Ting, the fake marriage has been exposed. All anonymous emails have been received by the directors, red books are flying with forged evidence. Are you hiding a bigger secret? Emergency meeting, now." Fu Ting's eyes darkened, he hugged Su Wan tightly and whispered, "Chen Feng's remnant, wife, don't be afraid." At the same time, the lights in Fu Ting's study stayed up all night, and the computer screen counted down to the eve of the signing of the merger and acquisition documents. He rubbed his brows tiredly and held a multi-million diamond ring in his iron fist. The phone suddenly vibrated, and Chen Feng's call was like a ghost crying, "Fu Ting, your fake marriage is so sweet, and Su Wan has moved out. Final notice, tomorrow's signing meeting, I will set up a trap to frame you for money laundering, the evidence will be broadcast live on the entire network." Will she turn around to save her husband? Fu Ting's eyes burned with fire, the phone smashed the tiles. "Chen Feng, you are dead." Outside the study, Secretary Xiao Zhaoduan had a late-night snack and his legs were weak and depressed. Chen Feng is finally in trouble. He was framed for money laundering on the eve of the merger. Mr. Fu's family is in crisis. We listened to the corridor. Miss Su is crying alone in the apartment, can you go back? The air in the study was like solid lead. The veins in Fu Ting's arms bulged under the pressure. The tiles were scattered everywhere. Chen Feng's phone screen shattered and his laughter echoed like a ghost. Fu Ting, the money laundering live broadcast will blow up the whole network tomorrow. Su One apartment, I have locked her company into the quagmire again, and your myth of protecting your wife will be shattered into pieces. Fu Ting's eyes burned into red flames, and his fist smashed through the edge of the oak table, and sawdust flew like snow. He roared like a beast, Chen Feng, if you dare to touch a hair of hers, I will let you go. You're better off dead. The phone disconnected and buzzed. He grabbed his coat and rushed out of the study. Secretary Xiao Zhao held his hands and hit the wall with his legs. He spilled late-night snacks on the red floor. Mr. Fu. Chen Feng Money Laundering Bureau. He rushed out late at night, and we heard whispers in the corridor. On the eve of the signing of the contract, the young lady was crying alone in the apartment. He saved his wife with a single shot. His legs were weak and his heart was pounding. The old housekeeper stared at the crack of the door and hit the ground with his crutch. Master Ting fought hard all night, and the lights in the mansion were turned off like a tomb. At 4 o'clock in the morning, the neon lights downstairs of Su Wan's apartment were like crying blood, and the drizzle beating on the iron windows was like a drum beat. She curled up on the sofa, pop-ups were popping up after the hot search, and the company news went wild. The leaked video of employee Lao Zhang leaked again. Wancheng Technology Fu Ting secretly bought out, 500 million check money laundering props. Calls from creditors flooded in, and they threatened in a rough voice, Mr. Su, after the hot search for the money-worshipping queen, the debts are back again. Mr. Chen Feng's investment conditions, stab Fu Ting in the back to sign the contract, otherwise the door will be closed. Su Wan stood up pale, her silk nightgown soaked to the skin. Body, her mind was full of glass shards, her father's drawings were trembling, her refusal to submit handwriting 5 years ago. Fu Ting's sweet love turned Cold War. She bit her lip and said to herself, fight independently. Ting, how much are you hiding? Pushing the door downstairs, holding the company folder, the driver in the taxi glanced at her with tears in the rear-view mirror and her legs were shaking. Miss, are you crying again? Hot search reverses Mr. Fu's protection of his wife. Now the company is in a quagmire. Chen Feng's creditors are squeezing the city. In the Wancheng Technology Building, the gray fog at dawn shrouded the glass curtain wall like a tombstone. Su Wan pushed open the door of the conference room. The few employees stared with wide eyes and whispered, Mr. Su fights alone. After the hot search for money, the creditor Chen Feng repaid the debt of 50 million, and Fu Ting 500 million. Secretly pay attention to the exposure of money laundering suspicions. Our legs are weak, this quagmire is deep. Finance Shaoli pushed the pile of documents and reported with trembling hands, the debt list was revived. Chen Feng froze the account, the patent file was leaked 5 years ago, and the shareholders withdrew their capital. Su Wan iron palm slapped the table, and her voice was clear and suppressed, fight. Hack Chen Feng's backstage, dig up the source of money laundering and fake evidence, I will talk to you personally. She dialed Chen Feng, her tone cold, meet you at the coffee shop, debt negotiation. Chen Feng smiled sinisterly on the other end of the phone, Miss Su, stab Fu Ting in the back and inject capital to save the company, otherwise your father's old debts will be exposed through kidnapping threats. Su Wan's heart sank. After hanging up, she held a broken pen in her fist and played a psychological game like a knife. Do you believe Fu Ting is true love, or do you want to fight alone with a heartbroken heart? In the corner of the coffee shop, steam is curling up like poisonous mist. Chen Feng, in a straight suit, is pushing a fake folder. The yellowed contract amplifies the ironclad evidence of money laundering. Fu Ting transferred Galaxy 500 million to squeeze my project's black money. Su Wan, the cooperation backstabbing signing ceremony will be broadcast live. I'll pull you. Join the team, Wancheng is resurrected. Su Wan glanced coldly, her mind flashed. Fu Ting was sweating on his collarbone and licking juice from the kitchen. The glass shard stung, false evidence. Ting suppressed you like a dog. You framed the truth 5 years ago. Chen Feng stood up with a sinister smile, and 2 men in black clothes stood up. Han rushed into the box, locked her waist with iron arms and dragged her out of the back door. The stench of the trash cans in the alley filled the sky, and the rainwater formed a ditch of blood. You little bitch, refuse? I kidnapped and threatened Fu Ting. Su Wan struggled and kicked her, documents were spilled on the floor and soaked, and her high heels broke and stabbed the big man and little girl. Legs, blood seeped out, and she screamed, "Let go." Independent women are not afraid. Passers-by stared at the window of the cafe with round eyes and weak legs. The girl covered her mouth and trembled. Mr. Su kidnapped. Chen Feng threatened with black hands. The company's quagmire turned desperate. We called the police. Hot search bomb. In the abandoned warehouse, the rusty door slammed shut, and the dim light bulb flickered like a will-o'-the-wisp. Su Wan tied her hands behind the iron chair and hummed with tape on her mouth. Chen Feng paced and laughed sinisterly. Fu Ting came to the rescue alone. On the eve of the live broadcast of money laundering, I tied you up to force him to confess. The strong man wiped the blood from his dick and his legs trembled, whispering, "Boss, this woman is ruthless, her high heels are pierced, and my legs are weak." Su Wan's eyes were burning, and her mind was at war with heaven and man. Fu Ting concealed Chen Feng's ultimatum. Sweet pet illusion. Is it worth it to be independent and heartbroken? The engine roared outside the door, and Fu Ting's phantom slid to a stop like a panther. He was naked and tightly wrapped in fitness pants, and his abdominal muscles were washed by the rain and shined with iron light. He broke into the iron door with a single gun, and the punch was like thunder, smashing the lock and shattering. "Chen Feng, let my wife go." The strong man rushed forward, and the 3 of them surrounded Fu Ting. The iron rod swung at him, and he dodged and grabbed his wrist and broke it. There was a crunching sound, and his second child knelt down and screamed miserably, his legs weak. Monster. He has a good fitness body, his abdominal muscles are as hard as steel, our legs are broken. Chen Feng pulled out the gun and trembled. Fu Ting dodged and grabbed the gun and smashed it in the face, blood splattered. "How dare you kidnap your wife?" He kicked Chen Feng away and hit a dent in the wall. The steel frame of the warehouse shook and dust fell like rain. Fu Ting tore off the tape and picked up Su Wan, holding her waist tightly with his iron arms and running out of the warehouse. The phantom engine roared and rushed towards the hospital in the rain. The lights in the emergency room were dazzling, and the white-robed doctor's eyes widened and his legs weakened. Mr. Fu saved his wife by himself. Chen Feng's warehouse kidnapping video was leaked. We heard from the nurses that the strong man had 3 broken bones, but Fu Ting's body was overwhelming. Nursing on the hospital bed, Fu Ting held the back of her hand, her sweat-dampened hair pressed to her forehead, and his voice was low and doting. "Wife, wake up. I will destroy Chen Feng's remnant, and the power of fitness will protect you forever." Su Wan opened her eyes and burst into tears. Light, leaning against his chest, the sweetness was rekindled like fire, her lips were close to her neck and she whispered, "Ting, save my God, sweet pet is so sweet." He leaned over to kiss his collarbone and licked the tear stains with his tongue. "I promise, after the merger is signed, I will pamper you in the kitchen and work out for the rest of my life." The nurse outside the door covered her chest and legs softly and screamed, whispering on the wall of the hospital bed. Crisis to save my wife turned sweet, we died of soreness, the hot search hashtag footing FITNESSSAV wife got hashtag exploded. The dark clouds cleared outside the ward window and dawn began to appear. Su Wan changed her clothes and was discharged from the hospital. Fu Ting held his waist and pushed the door domineeringly. The psychological game started again. She checked his mobile phone, and the voice of Chen Feng's ultimatum was irrefutable. "If you had known about the conspiracy, wouldn't you have told me?" Her anger burned in her heart. She threw away her iron arm, and the forged screenshots of the red book were projected onto the wall. "Ting. You had known about Chen Feng's money laundering bureau, Navy gang, and kidnapping threat. Why did you hide it? Use the quagmire of our company as a shield. 5 years ago, you refused to invest in glass, and you loved your wife. It's all fake. Fu Ting's eyes darkened and he clenched the bedrail with an iron fist. Honey, in order to protect you from fear, I planned a counterattack and killed Chen Feng with a single shot to seal the source of the ironclad evidence. Su Wan burst into tears and pushed his chest, concealing it is equal to disbelief. Independence breaks the heart, separation. She dragged her suitcase and rushed out of the ward. The nurse's eyes widened in the corridor and her legs weakened. Lao Wang whispered, the misunderstanding deepened. Mr. Fu saved his wife and then angrily accused her of concealing it. Let's listen to the group. Mr. Su's apartment started to cry again. On the eve of the signing of the contract, the family became depressed. Su Wan dragged the suitcase out of the iron gate. The night wind was blowing with dark clouds and residual rain. She was huddled and sobbing in the taxi. The driver glanced at the rearview mirror and her legs were shaking. Miss, are you crying again? The hot search reversed Mr. Fu's protection of his wife. Now he is moving out. This grudge is deep. Wan. Fu Ting publicly clarified that the media was blocked, and the whole army was wiped out. It was wrong to question him. He refused to save me 5 years ago. Trust me, look back. Chen Feng hung up with a choked voice. The neon lights downstairs of the apartment were deserted. She pushed the door in and heard the sound of the box hitting the floor. Su Wan's fingers were frozen on the phone screen. Chen Feng's pale face was distorted like a ghost in the video. The infusion tube was ticking like a countdown bomb. The hospital surveillance red light was flashing in the background. His hoarse laugh echoed in the eardrums. Miss Su, on the eve of the signing conference, there is irrefutable evidence of live broadcast of money laundering plus fake. The wedding bonus has been exposed, Fu Ting's myth has collapsed, and your company will always be in quagmire. Come to my ward and stab him in the back. I will invest 500 million to save Wansheng, otherwise, your father's old debt will be exposed for the whole family. The black screen buzzed, her heart was pounding, the drizzle hit her face and it was freezing, and the lights downstairs in the apartment were bright. The rainbow reflected the blood-red halo, and Xia Wanqing hugged her shoulders and shook her wildly. Wan. Don't believe that scum. I dug up all Chen Feng's black mailboxes. He framed Fu Ting for refusing to invest in the patent interception 5 years ago, and it was all his fault for your father's bankruptcy. Fu Ting had known about the ultimatum and planned a counterattack, and killed the strong man in the warehouse with a single gun. The power of God protects you. I hide it because I am afraid that you will break your heart. This love is as deep as the ocean. The morning jogger on the road stopped with his eyes widened, his headphones slipped and whispered, crying in Mr. Su's apartment. Chen Feng threatened via video, Fu Ting saved his wife's hot search topic, and my best friend persuaded Hui Tianren to fight. Our hearts are beating. Su Wan pushed Xia Wanqing away, with tears mixed with rain running down her collarbone. She dragged herself upstairs and locked the door. She curled up in the bathtub and flooded her shoulders with hot water. Glass shards surged in her mind. Fu Ting ripped off the tape in the warehouse to keep warm, licked her tears in the hospital bed and whispered to hide the Cold War. She choked to herself, strong independent woman, Ting. Is it true that you love and protect your wife, or is it a shield for a merger? The mobile phone vibrated frantically, and the company group exploded. Employees are smally legs softly typed, Mr. Su, the creditor Chen Feng has rekindled his 50 million yuan, the hot search hashtag fake marriage worships hashtag counterattack, Fu Ting's 500 million secret money laundering contract has been leaked, and the ironclad evidence has been leaked. We are desperate. She gritted her teeth and stood up, put on a black suit and pushed the door downstairs. The taxi driver glanced at her with red and swollen eyes in the rearview mirror and trembled. Miss, are you fighting again? The tombstone of the Wanqing building is locked in fog, and dark clouds are closing in on the night before the signing. Mr. Fu is blocking the door to chase his wife. In the Wanqing Technology Building, the gray fog at dawn pressed like a lead curtain, and the cold light reflected from the glass curtain wall was like a blade. Su Wan pushed open the elevator, and the staff in the conference room stood up sparsely, their eyes rounded, and their legs weak. They stole. President Su is back from fighting alone. Is Chen Feng's kidnapping video leaked and turned into a fake marriage? Yun, the company's debts were frozen and all the shareholders ran away, our legs were weak and our hearts were broken. Finance Shaoli reported with trembling hands, 50 million is resurrected plus the patent file is leaked, the video of Chen Feng Hospital threatens the entire internet, and the hot search reverses Fu Ting's wife saving God. It's going to collapse. Su Wan slapped the table with her iron palm, and said in a clear voice, "Shut up. Fight independently, I will personally watch the signing meeting, Chen Feng is absolutely proven to be fake." Before she could finish her words, the engine roared like thunder in the square downstairs, and the city was filled with roses like a wave, and thousands of trucks were dumped. The blood-red petals covered the sky, and the fragrance was so fragrant that they brought tears to their eyes. Passers-by and office workers opened their eyes wide and patted their legs wildly with their mobile phones, shouting, "Fu Ting is blocked by roses all over the city, blocking the Wanqing Gate. The crematorium for boss chasing his wife is open, and the trending search for #Rosebag #explodes, our legs are sore and weak." Fu Ting knelt in the middle of the sea of roses with his suit straight, his iron knee hitting the ground and splashing flower juice like blood. He held a box of thousands of diamond rings high above his head. His eyes shone with colorful lights in the morning light. His voice was low and hoarse like a beast roaring through the fog lock, "Honey, forgive me for hiding it." Chen Feng issued an ultimatum to the black mailbox. "I locked the source, warehouse list. The power of the gun to destroy the enemy is all to protect you. Sweet love has been sincere since the day the Civil Affairs Bureau held hands." The employees of the company were surging in the window. Finance Shaoli covered his mouth and trembled and pushed the window to shout, "Mr. Fu is kneeling on the sea of roses? The overlord of Tingyu kneels down to chase his wife." We stared at him and our legs were weak, and Mr. Su's heart melted. Security guard Wang Guai, the stick fell to the ground and her legs went soft as she knelt down. Young Master Ting's iron knees are not bent, the city is full of flowers, the wife-chasing mania mode is on full swing, the hot search live broadcast makes our hearts explode. Su Wan rushed down the stairs, her eyes burning, and pushed away the crowd, and shook his iron arm with an iron palm. "Fu Ting. It's useless to kneel down, hiding Chen Feng's money laundering bureau, navy gangs, kidnapping threats, you don't believe that I am independent. All the image props of the fake marriage book are broken." She turned to leave, but he put his iron arm around her waist and dragged her back to the rose pile. He whispered in his ear, "Honey, trust me once, let's review the kitchen fitness, I will cook and apologize myself." In the kitchen of the top-floor mansion of Tingyu Group, the sun shines on the marble countertop and shines with metallic light. Fu Ting wears a pink apron and is chopping vegetables awkwardly. His hand shakes with the knife and the tiger's mouth is scratched. Blood beads seep out of the gauze he wrapped in a low curse, and he brings out a heart-shaped steak plate with rose sauce on the edge. The aroma was tantalizing and enticing. He knelt down on one knee and fed the fork into his mouth, licking his lips with his tongue and whispering, "Honey, my heart fell in love with juice when I first met you in the kitchen. From the day I licked the corner of your lips, my true love exploded." Su Wan bit her lip and swallowed, the hot juice burned her throat and tears came to her eyes. Xia Wanqing peeped outside the door, covered her breasts and legs, and screamed, "Mr. Fu, wearing an apron and cooking, is apologizing. Steak feeding and playing sour, Chen Feng's full conspiracy. Screenshot of my email, framed your father's patent 5 years ago, Galaxy 500 million to suppress all his evil hands. The indisputable evidence of the Navy's kidnapping was fabricated, and Fu Ting planned to sacrifice his life to protect you." An employee, Shaoli, eavesdropped in the corridor and his eyes widened and he trembled. "The wall in the kitchen of the mansion is banging." Chasing his wife in the crematorium and turning into a sweet pet, our legs are weak and the hot search is hashtag fooding apron kneeling to feed hashtag. Sue Won's guard was slightly shaken, she pushed away the fork and stood up, bursting into tears. Wan Qing confirmed that Chen Feng was behind the scenes. Ting, are you serious? Fu Ting put his iron arms around his waist and pressed on the table, covering his collarbone with his lips and licking the traces of tears. His voice was hoarse and doting. Really? Relive it in the gym the first time we met. The gym equipment was shiny, and the smell of sweat was mixed with the fragrance of roses. He was naked and pulled her on the equipment. His abdominal muscles were made of iron after the rain. He straightened his legs forcefully and put his palms on his waist. He whispered, "Honey, remember to run on you in the morning." Demonstration. Sweat mingled with the kiss on the forehead, and the heart was conquered from that day. He leaned over the wall, licked the earlobe with his tongue and confessed affectionately, "I love you." The fake marriage turned into true love, and the merger and acquisition contract was signed to protect my wife for the rest of my life. Xia Wanqing's eyes widened. Softly, confessions for a fitness play. Hard steel pressing equipment for abdominal muscles. We heard gasps and soreness. Mr. Su melted and didn't look back. Su Wan leaned against her chest and whispered with tears, "Ting. I believe you, we will fight together when we sign the contract." At the Huaxing signing conference, splendid crystal lanterns poured down like a galaxy, business elites gathered in suits and leather shoes, and the merger and acquisition data of the century flashed on a giant screen. The director, Mr. Li, was sitting at the head with a stern face. Fu Ting took Su Wan's waist and entered domineeringly. The red carpet was trampled like a king's parade, and the flashlights flashed wildly. Chen Feng rolled in on crutches and in a wheelchair, with 4 tubes mopping the floor stained with blood. He pressed the remote control with a sinister smile. The giant screen suddenly switched to fake screenshots of fake marriage red books plus money laundering yellowed contracts were zoomed in. The sound roared as he gasped, "Fu Ting's fake marriage image props. Tingyu's 500 million galaxy transfer, ironclad evidence of money laundering, and Su Wan's gold-worshipping kidnapping video. Online live broadcast, merger and acquisition scandal." The whole audience went into a state of silence, and the director stood up with his eyes widened and his legs weak. The fake marriage was exposed. Chen Feng's ironclad evidence was revealed, Tingyu's stock price collapsed, and Mr. Fu's myth was shattered. Elite passers-by were filming wildly on their mobile phones and trembling. Chen Feng's last shot on the live broadcast. Rose chased his wife and turned to blackmail, "Our legs are weak and our hearts are chilling." Fu Ting's eyes burned red, his iron fist smashed on the podium, and the microphone buzzed to pieces. His voice was like thunder and boomed throughout the audience, "Chen Feng is a bastard. I will lock down the source of the fake evidence and expose all the screenshots of the black mailbox navy." He pointed at the giant screen, and Tingyu Legal rushed to project the real evidence. Chen Feng framed the patent file 5 years ago, Galaxy suppressed the black money flow, and kidnapped the warehouse to monitor Fu Ting's single-shot killing of the strong man. The video was played in high definition, the iron arm and knee collided with the bone and cracked, and he grabbed the gun and kicked it, and blood spurted out. The elites in the audience gasped and knelt on the chair with soft legs. Old Man Li hit the ground with his crutches trembling. Fu Ting's trump card is magic. Chen Feng's conspiracy was completely shattered. He saved his wife by exercising and single-handedly won the battle. The merger and acquisition was renewed. Chen Feng backed away from the wheelchair, his face turned pale, and he guarded his legs. "Soft dodge, the monster, the irrefutable evidence will backfire and our legs will be broken." Fu Ting kicked over the wheelchair with a single step, pressed his iron knee to his chest and sneered, "Old enemy, all remnants will be destroyed, Tingyu will swallow up your company." The legal officer announced that the merger had narrowly won, and there was thunderous applause. Before Su Wan burst into tears, she hooked Fu Ting's neck with her iron arms and took the initiative to kiss her deeply. The tip of her tongue was entangled with honey. The elites in the audience stared wide-eyed and covered their chests and legs. They yelled, "Mr. Su takes the initiative to kiss." Protecting his wife, he suppresses the truth and suppresses the truth. The emotional release is sweet. Hot search #M&A plus true love kiss #forever. Fu Ting kissed back and clasped his waist and murmured, "Wife, win, I will keep fit in the kitchen for the rest of my life." Director Mr. Lee, the boss, stood up and slapped his shoulder with a trembling voice, "Young Master Ting, fake marriage, true love conquers, and the group will always dominate." The venue was brightly lit, and the fragrance of roses filled the air. Su Wan leaned against his chest, with warmth surging in her heart, but she suddenly felt a slight pain in her lower abdomen. The 2 lines on the pregnancy test stick in front of the bathroom mirror were dazzling. Her fingers trembled and she said to herself, "I'm pregnant." "Ting, tell me." Independent hesitation, or sweet surprise? Su Wan clamped the pregnancy test stick with cold fingers. 2 pink lines pierced the pale face in the bathroom mirror like lightning. The crystal light fell on the marble floor and reflected the blood-red halo. Thunder rolled faintly outside the venue. The afterglow of the giant screen seeped through the gauze curtain. She felt a slight pain in her abdomen like a needle prick, and her heart surged. Her words choked with sobs, "Child." "Ting, is this burst of sweetness the last stronghold of an independent woman?" Fu Ting tapped his iron palm outside the door, his low voice penetrated the soundproof wall. "Honey, after signing the contract, old man Lee toasted at the celebration banquet, and you hid in the bathroom for half an hour? Chen Feng's wheelchair kicked the aftermath, and I guarded the door. Don't leave." She bit her lips and wiped away tears before pushing the door open. The cuffs of his suit were stained with blood. The red flames in her eyes were not extinguished when the legal officer swept away Chen Feng's guards. She put her iron arms around her waist and pressed against the wall, breathing heavily. "Pregnant?" I picked up the pregnancy test stick when it fell to the ground, and 2 lines flashed in my eyes. "Wife, from working out in the kitchen to rescuing your wife in the warehouse, your baby is the proof." The elite passers-by in the audience stared at each other through the cracks in the half-door and whispered with weak legs. The female secretary covered her mouth and trembled. "Mr. Fu confessed in the bathroom?" The pregnancy test showed 2 sweet results, and Chen Feng confirmed that the family is happy, and our sore legs are broken. In the top-floor mansion of Tingyu Group, the night was like ink pouring out of the floor-to-ceiling windows. Su Wan curled up on the leather sofa, and glass shards surged in her mind. Chen Feng's pale face threatened in the video, the red book of the fake marriage was exposed in despair, the warehouse kidnapped the iron-armed redemption and then concealed the Cold War. She murmured, "Ting, is hesitant to be independent, should the child tell her or hide it in her heart?" Fu Ting stayed awake day and night, wearing a custom-made sexy pink apron tied around his waist, the lace edge outlined the iron lines of his abdominal muscles. The marble countertop of the kitchen was piled with heart-shaped ingredients. He was bare-chested and slicing steaks with a knife. Sweat beads rolled down his ridges and burned his muscles. The aroma mixed with male hormones seduced him. He knelt down on one knee to feed the fork into his mouth while holding the plate, and licked his lips with the tip of his tongue. Roaring, "Honey, the erotic apron play is just for you. Do you remember the first time you met and fell in love with the sauce? We will feed you until dawn tonight and we will never be separated." Xia Wanqing peeked outside the door and pushed the door open and barged in. Her eyes were wide open and her legs were soft and she screamed, "Mr. Fu is naked in the apron and the god of cooking. Feeding my wife the steak honey juice, our bestie is sour." Chen Fenghe, I continue to dig into my mailbox, and the remnants of the Navy counterattacked and the trending search #laundering was reversed, and all surveillance in his hospital was locked. Company employee Xiao Li eavesdropped on the live broadcast on his mobile phone in the corridor, live broadcast in the kitchen of the mansion. The boss chases his wife day and night and makes a fuss about it. The sea of roses kneels and turns around in sexy aprons, and our legs are weak and our hearts turn into adoration. Su Wan swallowed the hot juice, tears welled up in her eyes and mixed with the fragrance of the sauce. She pushed the fork up, but was pushed down by an iron arm on the table. Fu Ting covered her collarbone with her lips and licked the tear stains. Her voice was hoarse and doting, "Don't prick the glass slag. Chen Feng's patent of cutting off beards and framing your father 5 years ago was fully exposed. My refusal to vote was a black hand to lock him up. If I had known, the ultimatum was laid out to kill the enemy with one shot in the warehouse, all to protect your independence." She hugged her chest, her mental defense slightly cracked but the sting still lingered. "Ting, there is a deep misunderstanding, fake marriage image props can turn into true love, do I believe it or not?" He held the princess in his arms and went straight to the gym. The equipment was shining with iron and moonlight, and the scent of sweat was blended with the fragrance of roses. He pressed her naked on the leg press machine, and the hard steel of his abdominal muscles rubbed against the inner thighs. He forcefully corrected the posture and slid his palms under her skirt and growled, "Wife, relive the first time we met on the morning jog." The sweat on the equipment blended with each other and stole a kiss on the forehead. "I conquered you from that day on. Lifelong. Promise to never be separated." Xiao Ting witnessed it in his belly. The metal of the equipment squeaked loudly, Xia Wanqing's eyes widened, her legs softened and she gasped, "Confession on the fitness play wall." Mr. Fu's abs were pressed against the equipment, and the honey wet the skirt. We gasped and our legs were broken, and Mr. Su melted and turned around. The heat wave in the gym was rolling. Su Wan's legs were weak and she was pressed against his iron chest. She burst into tears and confessed, "Ting, Chen Feng was involved in backstabbing through video, the kidnapping of the warehouse was scary, the Navy's reputation was shattered, I misunderstood that you were using fake marriage as a shield, and the independent woman's heart was broken into slag." Fu Ting's eyes burned with affection, iron they hugged each other tightly and kissed each other in tears, their tongues tangled in the honey-drawn dripping platform, and their voices were hoarse and choked with sobs. "Honey, the misunderstanding is resolved. Tingyu secretly bet 500 million to save Wansheng, the city is full of roses on his knees to pursue him, and he is a fitness sweetheart in an apron. I fell in love with each other from the day I held hands in the Civil Affairs Bureau." The two hugged each other like melting ice with tears in their eyes. Xia Wanqing rushed in and covered her chest and yelled, "The deep and dark history explodes. Fu Ting's rejection of Chen Feng's Xinghe project 5 years ago is to lock him into the source of money laundering. He has never been close to women and dug up all the dark history, a portrait of your mother who had a crush on the school belle in high school, Tingyu anonymously donated 50 million to your father's old debt to charity, and saved his wife's ex-wife in a warehouse. I have trained my body for thousands of hours to protect you for the rest of my life." Employee Xiao Li's live broadcast room exploded with barrages, and passers-by and office workers stared with eyes wide and their legs weak. Xiaomi shared Mr. Fu's dark history. Charity donation plus crush on her mother, she broke into tears during the fitness apron play, we knelt down in admiration and our hearts broke. The sweet warmth had not dissipated, and the cell phone buzzed suddenly. Tingyu legal Xiao Wang reported with a trembling voice, "Mr. Fu, Chen Feng's remnant forces are counterattacking. His hospital's remaining party hired hackers to invade Huasheng's servers, and released fake files on the eve of the final signing ceremony of the merger, a combination of the second phase of the yellow money laundering contract plus Mr. Su's money-worshipping video." The trending search was ##, and the stock price collapsed. 5%, Chief Old Man Li yelled, "Crisis." The whole place turned into despair. Su Wan turned pale and leaned on her chest, Chen Feng kicked the wheelchair and couldn't give up. The remaining hackers came to the scene and the signing ceremony was ruined. Fu Ting's eyes burst into red flames, and the metal of the equipment was dented and shattered. He sneered and growled, "The remaining dogs, use all your power to sweep away." He pressed the tablet with his fingers, and Tingyu secured the car. The team's engine roared like thunder and went straight to Chen Feng's VIP ward. The night rain poured down and smashed the window, the red surveillance light flickered like a will-o'-the-wisp, Chen Feng leaned on the bed with a pale grimace and the infusion tube ticked, and the remaining 5 hackers surrounded the computer and furiously typed on the keyboard and laughed sinisterly, "Boss, the server has implanted a virus. Fu Ting's myth collapsed for the second time. Su Wan failed to win. Over and turned to a black material live broadcast. The door of the ward was suddenly kicked open. Fu Ting charged forward with his knees and single-shot the field, waving lightning with his iron arms, punching the hacker's nose with a punch, causing blood to spray out. He hit the strong man's sternum with his knees, shattering his sternum and falling to the ground, convulsing. He snatched the computer and kicked it against the wall, causing sparks to fly. He coldly looked down at Chen Feng's wheelchair. Old enemy, all remnants will be wiped out. Tingyu's legal affairs locks the source. The hacker virus comes back and freezes your Galaxy account, and takes over your entire property. Chen Feng's face was distorted like rotten flesh, and he roared hoarsely with regret, "Monster Fu Ting. I wanted to join forces with you to dominate the industry by cutting off the patent 5 years ago, but you locked up the black money. A single shot in the warehouse severely damaged my lungs to pieces. I kicked the contract with an iron fist, and the hackers from the remaining party came back to attack us. Our legs were broken in despair." Guards, the strong man's eyes widened as he knelt down and trembled. "Mr. Fu's fitness power is back again. The iron arm killed 5 people in a sea of blood. Our bones are broken and our hearts are broken and we surrender." Tingyu's security rushed in and cuffed the handcuffs, and the legal projection was broadcast live. Chen Fengxing has money laundering in high definition. Hacker virus source code reversal fever. The search for #remnant route #exploded, and Old Manly yelled on the phone. Ting Xiao's power has been swept away quickly. The stock price has reversed the daily limit, the signing ceremony has been renewed, and the group will always dominate. A passerby reporter outside the window flashed his flashlight and screamed, "Live broadcast of the bloody battle in Chen Feng's ward. Fu Ting single-handedly wiped out the remaining party members." The iron knee presses on the chest. The hot search turns to true love and protection of wife plus M&A victory. We bow down and weak legs. Fu Ting held Su Wan in his iron arms during the video synchronization, sneered, and kicked Chen Feng's bed to the ground. "Honey, look at the defeat of the remnant. At the final signing ceremony, I am preparing a surprise sea of roses plus $1 million diamond ring forever." In the gym of the mansion, fresh and fragrant after the rain filled the air, Su Wan leaned on her iron arms and murmured in tears, "Ting, Chen Feng is completely destroyed, the glass slag has been dissolved, children tell me." Fu Ting put his lips on his forehead and licked his tears fondly. "Wife, tell me." She touched her belly with her fingers shyly. 2 lines, "Xiao Ting is here." His eyes lit up and he knelt on his knees to kiss his belly, his voice hoarse and ecstatic. True love bursts into life. Xia Wanqing yelled outside the door, "Pregnancy surprise plus remnant sweeps away the sweet spot." Old Manly is urging the signing ceremony. Mr. Fu is planning a surprise sea of roses. The venue was brightly lit for warm-up. Chen Feng's mobile phone was buzzing underground, and the remaining party whispered hoarsely, "Boss, the giant signing ceremony of Jedi counterattack virus implantation is about to explode." The remaining warmth of the iron equipment in the gym was steaming, and the moonlight was like silver flowing through the floor-to-ceiling windows, dripping with beads of sweat. Fu Tingtai knelt on his knees, pressing his lips to Su Wan's lower abdomen and kissing her softly. His breath penetrated into the gauze nightgown, and his hoarse voice echoed with ecstasy like the aftertaste of thunder. "Honey, Xiao Ting is here. True love. A life of ruin, from holding hands in fake marriage to witnessing in the belly. I, Fu Ting, have the power to protect your mother and son forever." Su Wan inserted her fingers into his dark hair, tears stained her cheeks and mixed with the scent of sweat. She arched her waist and pressed her iron chest and whispered, "Ting. The glass shards have melted, my independence has turned to dependence, and my honeymoon cruise is here. Before, the whole world witnessed how sweet we are." The glass door outside Xia Wanqing's door exploded, her eyes widened with almond-shaped eyes and she covered her chest with her soft legs and yelled, "Kneel down and kiss your sweet belly when you are pregnant. Mr. Fu's affectionate history plus Xiao Ting are here, our bestie has a broken leg, Chen Feng's remnant virus threatens me." Hot search for renewal of supervision. Old Manly urged to sign a contract and the Rose Sea decoration is in progress. The barrage of company employee Xiao Li's live broadcast in the corridor exploded, and passers-by fans screamed, "Tinyu Jim live broadcast tears and kisses?" The tyrant boss is crazy about protecting his wife plus the good news of pregnancy. We kneel down and lick our hearts out with admiration. The night rain stopped, and the helicopter on top of Tinyu roared into the sky. Princess Fu Ting carried Su Wan into the cabin. The crystal chandelier inside the private jet swayed and reflected the golden light of the champagne tower. The French bed was covered with rose petals like a sea of blood. He took off his suit jacket and threw the sofa away, his cold eyes sweeping away. The staff roared, "Global honeymoon cruise, MasterChef in Paris, private chef, Hawaii fitness beach, private island equipment transportation, before Chinfeng virus threatens to lock down, sweet pet sublime and never be separated." Su Wan leaned on his shoulder and looked out the window at the city lights like stars hanging upside down, her heart filled with glass shards. Micro flash, Chinfeng is still frightened by the bloody battle in the ward, the iron chains are cold during the kidnapping in the warehouse, and the red book props of the fake marriage turn into true love. She whispers, "Ting, if the hot search counterattacks during the parade, will Wanqing still need to prove his independence after paying off his debts?" He rubbed his belly with his iron palm, and pecked his earlobe with his lips. "Old man. Mother, secretly invested 500 million plus to acquire the entire property of Tun Xinghe. You are independent and I love you the most. I will blow you up with the parade fitness kitchen play." The cabin waiter's eyes widened and his legs were weak and he said, "Mr. The Eiffel Tower is shining brightly at night. Fu Ting, a private chef with 3 Michelin stars on the banks of the Seine, has booked the hall with a crystal vault." The team of chefs line up and bow before leaving. He is shirtless and wearing a pink lace apron, the iron lines on his abs are outlined with oil and shine. He is stir-frying foie gras sauce with a metal spatula, and the aroma is like mist. The mixed male pheromones hit her nose. She knelt down on one knee with a porcelain plate and fed Su Wan's cherry lips. She licked the juice with her tongue and growled, "Honey, sexy apron play is sublimated. Do you remember the first time you met a bastard in the mansion? I feed you until dawn in Paris tonight." Xiao Ting tastes her daddy's skills. Su Wan swallowed the hot juice, her eyes moist, and she pushed the fork. When he stood up, he was lifted up and pressed against the marble table. Fu Ting's lips covered his collarbone and licked the tears, and his iron arms supported his hips and rubbed the heat wave under his skirt. "Don't come back, glass shards." Chen Feng's money laundering source was wiped out 5 years ago, his dark history of charity donation to your father's old debt was exposed. He has been secretly in love with your mother's portrait since high school and loves the blood of the Su family. The chef peeked out. Staring at the crack in the door, the legs were soft and whispered, "Mr. Fu is wearing a naked apron for the chef in Paris to feed his wife. The honey-drawn wall is bang bang, our 3-star chef's legs are broken and admired." Tourists on the river bank looked at the golden light of the vault in the distance, and screamed, "The boss's honeymoon live broadcast. The sweet pet apron is playing all over the world, and our fans' legs are so soft that they are all over the screen." The white sand and fine waves of a private island in Hawaii hit the shore, and the fitness equipment arrived among the coconut trees. The sun was shining brightly. Fu Ting was sweating and naked, pressing Su Wan on the leg press machine. The hard steel of his abdominal muscles rubbed the inside of his thighs. The salty sea breeze stirred up the fragrance of roses. He forcefully corrected his posture and slid his hands over his skirt. She growled, "Honey, let's relive the sweat on the morning jog. From the fake marriage fitness to the pregnancy of Xiao Ting, conquer your life." Su Wan's legs were weak and she arched her waist and pressed her chest, her psychological defenses were melted and she burst into tears. "Ting, it was so sweet to go on tour, misunderstood the warehouse to save his wife plus hacker blood. John Quan protects my independence." His eyes burned with affection, his iron arms hugged him tightly and his tongue kissed the honey-dripping sand, his voice hoarse and choked with sobs. "True love is eternal, Ting Yu's power dominates the business world, I will outwit Chen Feng's remnants of the virus." The island's butler's eyes widened and he knelt on the sand with his legs soft and trembling, Mr. Fu's beach fitness play wall. The pregnant kiss splashed with waves, and our private island slaves broke their legs and bowed. The internet celebrities live broadcast blasted, honeymoon on a private island in Hawaii. The boss's abdominal muscles crushed his wife and she burst into tears, and our fans around the world fell to their knees. The warmth of the honeymoon is still lingering, the private jet roars back to land, the giant screen at Tingyu headquarters is warmed up and the lights are bright. On the eve of the final signing ceremony of the Century M&A, Chen Feng makes a desperate move to implant a hacker virus into the file server. The trending search is #TingyuFolique#. The water army is at the top, and the stock price is trembling. Old Manly yells on the phone, Master Ting, Chen Feng's bedside hackers are finally fighting back. The yellowed fake contract plus the black video synthesized by Mr. Su is about to explode on the giant screen. Director, you will question the crisis. Fu Ting smashed the conference table with his iron fist and the glass shattered. He sneered and said with red eyes, the remnants of the dog, use all the power to fight back. He pressed his finger on the tablet, and the hacker army of Tingyu Network invaded the remaining servers of the galaxy. The source of the virus backfired and the forensic projection was broadcast live to the audience. Chen Feng's money laundering flow HD plus hacker IP tracking ward party remaining party HD, hot search reversed #JediFeet #the daily limit is soaring. The elites on the board of directors stared with wide eyes and slapped the table with their legs and yelled, Mr. Fu has outsmarted you quickly. The virus backfired and the hacker blew himself up. We, the shareholders, have our legs weak and worship Yongba. Flashlights flashed outside the press conference and screamed, live broadcast of the hacker battle on the eve of the merger. Fu Ting's powerful documents are intact, and we in the business world worship him. The crystal dome of the venue was dazzling. Elites gathered in suits and were whispering. The giant screen flashed with the golden light of Tingyu's logo. Fu Ting took Su Wan on stage with his iron arms and made a domineering announcement with a low roar that shocked the entire audience, listen up to the business community. Chen Feng's old enemy 5 years ago, the patent interception and money laundering were all exposed, the warehouse kidnapping plus the remnants of the hacker virus were wiped out in a single-handed bloody battle. Tingyu acquired Tong Xinghe's entire family. Su Wan is my only true wife, from the fake marriage to the pregnancy of Xiaoting. I will always love and protect my wife. The scene turned from deathly silence to thunderous applause. Old Manly stood up on crutches, trembling and laughing wildly. Young Master Ting declares to protect his wife. The crisis has swept away the stock price and will dominate the market forever. Sign the contract immediately. Chen Feng's pale grimace was twisted and despairing through the video link in the ward. Monster Fu Ting. The virus backfired and the account was frozen, the company was wiped out, and we regretted surrendering. The guard Yu Dang cuffed his hands and knelt down with weak legs. Mr. Fu outsmarted the hacker army. The declaration that the file is intact will shock us, and our bones will be broken and we will be defeated forever. Su Wan leaned on her iron arm with tears in her eyes, and finally revealed the good news loudly through the microphone. Everyone, Tingyu's merger and acquisition victory, I am pregnant. Xiao Ting witnessed the explosion of true love. The elites in the audience widened their eyes and gasped, and the female secretary covered her mouth and shivered. Pregnancy confession on the stage of President Su. The declaration of sweet love to protect his wife, let's cut off our sore legs and worship. Before Xia Wanqing Pai rushed to the stage and hugged her waist and roared, my best friend witnessed the pinnacle of happiness. President Fu's historical charity donation plus affectionate portrait of his crush mother, from fitness in apron to global honeymoon, Xiao Ting has a sweet life. Passers-by and fans live broadcast barrage outside the venue, M&A stage pregnancy plus declaration of protecting my wife. Boss Su's true love is eternal, we kneel down and lick our hearts out all over the world. Downstairs in the apartment, Xia Wanqing rushed to hug her and yelled, Wan Wan. Fu Ting had known about Chen Feng's hacked mailbox. I'll find out the truth, he sacrificed his plans to protect you, and he worked out to save his wife. He is a one-man gunman. Trust him. Su Wan curled up and sobbed, with a faint light shining in the ashes of her heart, the battle between heaven and man, independence or turning back. The cell phone suddenly vibrated, and Chen Feng's gasping video broke in. In the background, the hospital's infusion tube was ticking. Su Wan, on the eve of the signing ceremony for cooperating to backstab Fu Ting, I still have irrefutable proof of money laundering live. You have a war between heaven and man in your heart, are you coming? Su Wan's fingers trembled slightly, tears welling up in her eyes. The crystal teardrops rolled down the red velvet signing table like broken pearls, reflecting the dazzling starlight of the huge heart-shaped diamond in the million-diamond ring. There was a lump in her throat, and her vision was blurred as she locked onto Fu Ting's stern iron face, the usually decisive and murderous face of a business tycoon, now turned into a sea of affectionate fire, as he knelt on his iron knees and remained as still as a mountain, waiting for her sentence. In the venue where all the elites gathered, it was as dead as a tomb under the crystal dome, and the thunderous applause suddenly stopped. Old Man Li's hand on crutches had bulging veins and was hanging in the air, shaking. The reporters' flashlights poured down like a torrential rain, and the live broadcast barrages exploded outside the screen, crying at the proposal stage. The tycoon bowed with a diamond ring on his knees, and our fans around the world were heartbroken and turned to their knees to lick it. Ting! Su Wan's voice shattered like shards of glass hitting her heart. She recalled the cold touch of the Red Book of the Civil Affairs Bureau on the day of the disaster, the bone-piercing pain of the warehouse chain on her wrist, and the threat of Chen Feng's email like a poisonous snake eating her heart. Her pride as an independent strong woman once shattered into powder, but now she is on a honeymoon cruise in Paris and her apron is drawn with hot juice. She took a deep breath, covered his iron palm with her slender hands, and her tears and smiles burst through the microphone and shocked the entire audience. I promise. From holding hands in a fake marriage to conquering true love, you, Fu Ting, have been domineering and pampering me all my life. Xiao Ting, mother and son, will be with you forever. After saying this, Fu Ting's iron arms rose up and he hugged the princess into his arms. His lips covered her cherry lips wildly, and the tip of his tongue stirred up the heat of honey juice. The deep kiss swept through the venue like a thunderous roar. Su Wan arched her waist in response, and inserted her fingers into her dark hair to pull her breasts closer to her. Her pregnant belly was slightly swollen and pressed against the iron lines of her abdominal muscles, and her nose was bursting with sweet pheromones. All the elites in the audience instantly lost their legs and collapsed. Old Man Li dropped his crutches to the ground and laughed wildly and slapped the table. Yes. Declaration of protecting my wife plus real marriage proposal is so fast, the stock price will dominate immediately after signing the contract, our board of directors will worship with broken legs. Xia Wanqing rushed to the stage and hugged her waist with iron arms. Her legs were weak and she knelt down and trembled, shouting, my best friend witnessed the sweetness. From the misunderstanding of broken glass to the eternal diamond ring, Xiao Ting came to the world for honeymoon with sore legs and broken legs. The female secretary in the back row gasped and covered her chest with her hands on the chair, a hot kiss and a tearful embrace on the stage. The domineering boss, Mr. Su's true love exploded, we will kneel in tears and worship you forever. Chen Feng's face twitched and collapsed in the video, the remaining hacker army's projected chains flashed in high definition, and the legal evidence of money laundering plus virus backlash IP exploded. He was hoarse and desperate, monster Fu Ting, the diamond ring came to the fore. I, Chen Feng, will go to jail and lose forever. The guards dragged him off the assembly line, and the shackles dragged on the floor. Fans outside the venue screamed loudly. Chen Feng kneeled down and kissed the highlight of the video. The stock price of Tingyu True Love skyrocketed, and our business community's legs went weak. The gold pen fell on the red velvet signing table. Fu Tingtai held Su Wan's delicate hand to sign. The Century MNA document was dripping with ink. The giant screen flashed Tingyu's logo and burst into flames. The stock price curve skyrocketed like a rocket, soaring to the limit, and the hot search hashtag Fu Ting Proposal MNA Victory hashtag dominated the global rankings. Fu Ting held his waist in a domineering manner and declared in a low voice, "Listen up to the business world. Tingyu swallowed up Xinghe's family property, Su Wan's real wife is pregnant with Xiao Ting, Chen Feng's old enemies, money-laundering hackers, were all killed and imprisoned, and the red book of the fake marriage was turned into a diamond ring forever." The applause from the audience was like a tsunami, and old man Li hugged him with a crutch. The station trembled and shook hands. "Young god Ting. A crisis outweets the true love of a protective wife, and our shareholders will always worship you." Reporters swarmed with flashes of light and dancing, and barrages blasted, signing up for a hot kiss plus Chen Feng being jailed. The power of the tyrant overpowers the sweet pet, and our fans are heartbroken and will always lick. As night fell, the lights of Tingyu headquarters still lingered, and the private helicopter roared over the river of lights in the city, heading straight for the top mansion. The stars were shining brightly outside the floor-to-ceiling windows. Princess Fu Ting carried Su Wan and stepped into the marble entrance. She took off her suit jacket and threw the sofa. She glanced at the butlers with stern eyes and shouted, "The honeymoon around the world is still lingering." The kitchen fitness sweet pet exploded. Chen Feng pampered his wife for the rest of his life before locking him to death. The butler's eyes widened and his legs went weak. He bowed and trembled, the tears on his arms were not dry, and his pregnant belly was slightly swollen, and he whispered to his chest, "Ting, the hot kiss on the signing stage kept my heartbeat from stopping, Wanqing's debt was paid off plus 500 million secretly bet on the truth to crush the glass shards, my independent heart is completely melted by you." He put his iron palm on his belly and rubbed it, his lips pecked his forehead to pamper him, "Wife, from my high school crush on your mother's portrait to donating 50 million old debt to charity, all the dark history is exposed just for the blood of the Su family, I will feed you in the kitchen until dawn tonight." The golden glow of the crystal chandelier in the mansion's kitchen shines down on the marble table. Fu Ting's topless body is wearing a sexy pink lace apron, the iron wires on his abdominal muscles are shining with oil like a statue of the god of war. He is stir-frying the truffled beef tenderloin with a metal shovel and the aroma of brushed juice is lingering. The hot air mixed with male pheromones is tangy to his nostrils. Kneeling on her knees, she fed Su Wanying's lips from a porcelain plate, licking the juice with her tongue and growling, "Honey, relive the Michelin apron play in Paris. Do you remember the first time you met Jijiang? Tonight, the M&A victory was a big success and I fed my pregnant wife, and Xiao Ting tasted the juice even more sweet than her father's craftsmanship." Su Wan swallowed the hot juice, her eyes watering. She stood up with a push but was pushed down by her waist. Fu Ting covered his collarbone with his lips and licked the tears. His iron arms supported his hips and rubbed the heat under his skirt, "Glass slag will be destroyed forever." Chen Feng was imprisoned and the ironclad evidence came out. "From a fake marriage for 3 months to a diamond ring for a lifetime, you conquered my Fu Ting's powerful heart." The voyeur stared and whispered, "Mr. Fu wears a naked apron to feed his pregnant wife in his mansion. After the merger and acquisition, the lace wall bangs, our chef's legs are broken and he admires her." The barrage of the live broadcast in the butler's corridor explodes, the ultimate sweet pet in the kitchen. "The tyrant's abdominal muscles press my wife into tears, and our fans' sore legs flood the screen." The remaining warmth from the feeding was still lingering. Fu Ting picked up Su Wan with his iron arms and headed straight to the underground gym. The iron equipment was covered with silvery moonlight and beads of sweat. The leg press machine still had the lingering fragrance of honeymoon on the Coconut Grove beach. He was naked and pressed her on the equipment. His sweaty abdominal muscles were rubbed against the hard steel on the inner thighs. The sea breeze, the simulator's salty wet curls are scented with roses, and the palms of her hands slide under her skirt to correct the posture and she whispers, "Honey, let's relive the fitness play on a private island in Hawaii." From sweating during a morning run to pregnant Xiao Ting, the equipment promises to pamper you for life. Su Wan's legs are soft and her waist is pressed against her chest, psychologically the defense lines were melted and he burst into tears, "Ting, promised with diamonds and tears on the merger stage. The warehouse saved my wife, plus the bloody battle against the virus protected my independence. True love will forever strengthen the bond between mother and child. His eyes burned with affection, his iron arms hugged tightly, and his tongue kissed the honey-dropping ground. His voice was hoarse and choked with sobs. Tingyu's power dominates the business world. Chen Fengfei's account is frozen. Fu Tingyi, only give you my affectionate history. The glass door outside the fitness coach's door burst open, his eyes widened and his legs were soft, and he covered his chest and yelled, "Mr. Fu's equipment is against the wall, his pregnant wife. The merger is a big victory, and our coach's legs are broken to worship." In the afternoon of the next day, a party was held in the garden of Xia Wanqing's mansion to celebrate. The sea of roses in the crystal vault hall paved the ground like blood waves, and there was a fountain on the top of the champagne tower. Elite guests gathered and whispered. She rushed to the stage and hugged Su Wan around the waist and yelled, "Best friends witness eternal sweetness." From the hot search for fake marriage rumors to the victory of the diamond ring acquisition, Chen Feng was jailed and the video of defeat plus Xiao Ting was released. The global honeymoon was sore and my legs were broken, and we threw a party and exploded for life. Old Manly raised his glass on crutches and shook his head and laughed wildly. "Mr. Ting, Mr. Su is the true love god. The stock price has skyrocketed, and our shareholders are all in danger." The female secretary crossed her legs and trembled, the rest of the kiss in the rose sea. The tyrant's doting wife wears an apron and works out, we worship with tears. The afterimage of Chen Feng in prison is flickering, and the remaining high-definition evidence of the money-laundering hacker is all locked up, and his face is silent forever. Fu Ting domineeringly welcomed Su Wan to the main stage, holding a diamond ring in his slender hands and roaring loudly, shaking the audience, "Business friends, listen up. Fake marriage turned into true love. Su Wan conquered me, Fu Ting, from making sauce in the kitchen to working out, power and pampering last forever." Su Wan responded with tears in her chest, "Ting, you conquered my independence, and true love broke apart mother and son. Life." The two kissed passionately again, and the whole place burst into applause. Xia Wanqing stared at her legs and screamed, "Sweetness forever." Xiao Ting came to the party to witness, and our best friend broke her leg and was so happy. The elite guests gasped and shouted, "The boss's declaration of true love." The merger and acquisition is completed and the stock price is at the top, and we in the business community will always kneel in admiration. The signing table was paved with red velvet, and the gold pen flickered. Fu Ting knelt down on one knee and took out a multimillion-dollar diamond ring from the inner pocket of his suit. The heart-shaped giant diamond reflected the thousands of stars on the dome. Su Wan, the Iron Master, had slender hands and eyes filled with affection. "Honey, I got this from the Civil Affairs Bureau." Falling in love with hands, fake marriage turns into true love. "Marry me, will it last forever?" The whole audience held their breath. Xia Wanqing stared, her legs were weak and she screamed. Old Manly was trembling on his crutches. Chen Feng's face was twisted and desperate in the video, her fingers were trembling slightly, and tears filled her eyes. As the rose petals were flying, Fu Ting embraced her with his iron arms, and murmured with his lips to his ear, "My wife, I will be the sweetheart of my life from now on." Su Wan smiled with tears and arched her waist, "Ting, forever."